down, man. That would have been fun. Yay, we're live. Okay, let me make sure it's working. Yeah, so hey, what's going on, everybody? You probably know me, and if you're watching on Hannah's channel, you definitely know her. Oh, it's doing the thing. It's
Hi.
yeah. Hey, what's going on, everybody? But yeah, so I'm not really one for introductions that much, so let's really just kind of jump right into it. I will say we're going to do our best to stay organized and really focus on the actual planets in order so we can go back and put the timestamps in. Because, we want this to be more of like an actual resource that people can go back to and really like treat it as like a more educated video, even though it is live. So be forewarned, there will be distractions, but we're going to try to avoid them as best as possible. But yes. Anyway, so let's start off with this Pluto retrograde. We're going to go in order in terms of, we're going to go in chronological order in terms of, instead of, planet distance order. So we're going to start out and technically work our way in because that's kind of the way it's really working in terms of timestamps. But yeah, I mean, let's start off with Pluto and get to breaking that down.
Yeah, do you want to go first or do you want me to go or?
Yeah, I mean, we can just start with talking about the actual transit in terms of how it started in Aquarius and it'll be ending in 27 degrees. So yeah, I mean, once you have an idea about you want to chime in with something that you think I'm missing, just let me know. But yeah, so for this first Pluto transit, we will mention that Pluto is actually, damn, we got 9 viewers already. That's awesome. But yeah, so we are starting with this Pluto transit, which was in 1 degrees of Aquarius, and it'll be moving back into 27 degrees of Capricorn, which is, America's Pluto return. So we'll get into that, talking about how BRICS may be correlated to that due to certain things of how America actually gathered its power and control over the global economic system as well as becoming a world superpower. But that might be for a later day, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, New World Order.
Yeah. They're always trying to do something new. But yeah, but point being is this actually won't be the last time that Pluto is dibbling and dabbling back into Capricorn. It will be going retrograde, like I think don't quote me on it, but somewhere between like 1 to 3 more times of actually going before it's like full force in Aquarius.
Can I give the info for that, the details for that? So it's going to be retrograde in Capricorn from September 2024 until November. Well, it's going back into Capricorn basically around that time. So yeah.
Not a squiggle.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit, and then by November 2024, that's it.
Oh, what? November 24th.
Yeah, November 2024, and then that's when the full swing of Pluto and Aquarius will begin.
Oh, I don't want that. I don't want people worried about AI and neglecting the fact that it's really just a probability engine. Don't do that to me.
Yeah, and it is interesting because when we first experienced Pluto entering Aquarius, I think a lot of things came up to do with what you just said with AI. Even thinking about Google with their new goggles. And then what I really think about actually with this is with the Aquarius Capricorn info is Pluto in Aquarius kind of looks at anarchy, where everyone's just going crazy and
oh, most definitely.
But then with Pluto and Capricorn, it's even been looking at hierarchy and how maybe things are actually crumbling, and then hence when you crumble the hierarchy, when that collapses, then yeah, that results in anarchy. But then we could even see transformations to do with anarchy itself. Maybe there's certain things that, of course, we haven't taken into consideration, and we will be really surprised with Pluto and Aquarius, of course. It's hard to predict, really, with Pluto and Aquarius, but it's going to be interesting.
That's what it is. Yeah, one thing someone actually mentioned to me recently is that 15 degrees of Aquarius is actually a very, very unique degree, because what happened last at around like 15 degrees of Aquarius, which was our warning, with Saturn, was all of the like what's it called? Like the police brutality stuff like going on in the US, like 15 degrees Aquarius for Saturn. That's when like the whole George Floyd happened thing for us here and all that stuff. But outside of like a more like global influence of how these influences will affect us, like let's focus on how it'll like influence you as an individual. So for Pluto and Capricorn and that retrograding, I kind of see that as like people going back into their old understandings and their old statuses of like who they thought they wanted to be or who they like wanted to be. And they'll really kind of just be like beating themselves up a little bit in regards to, like how they're just like seeing themselves and if they have the power to actually really just like dive into that. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
it's like I feel like a lot of people are going to be like really hard on themselves, and we may be getting a glimpse of that right now, especially with the moon being in Virgo. Like people are just like, all right, I'm not where I want to be. Let's figure out a plan to do this, and then let's not even like get into the whole how that's opposing Saturn and Pisces right now, where people are opposing the delusions that they've built up for themselves. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, we're going to get into that obviously with Saturn and Neptune retrograde. I have find if we were to think of it like personally speaking, because you said about individually,
Yeah.
I find with Pluto entering Aquarius, what it taught me, and maybe this can resonate with many people watching this, is
Sure.
um what I wasn't prepared for, what I wasn't planned for, and the growth and the learning that can come from recognizing those patterns. And then Pluto going back into Capricorn is a way for us, well, I found for me anyway, to revisit my foundations, my structures, to see, what's cracked, what are the missing pieces, what's not working, but also what is working, and actually paying attention to what's working. And I even think with the grand fixed cross that we all experienced there, which was really, really heavy. I think what it taught me, and perhaps again other people, is how often we can take things for granted. How often we can kind of have this thing of, oh, to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I want to reach this goal and this goal. When really there's a lot of things in our lives where maybe we can actually nurture those things or pay attention to them or give gratitude to them, what is working. So yeah, I feel like those themes of taking things for granted have really come up.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think I guess like regards for you, like personally, I think like you really underestimate how good you are at like simplifying what these influences mean in like a basic sense. And like I don't know. I mean, just based off kind of what you said of that, I feel like you don't give yourself enough credit for like how good you really are at like making it simple and making people like really care about like what that influences and how it affects people.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I do have Virgo
Oh yeah,
energy,
yeah. I mean,
and I got Jupiter in Virgo, so I like to simplify things, but it's also like, come on, be humble.
yeah, for sure. No, no, no. I think that's great. That's like why I wanted to work with you because I always like struggle with like bringing like complex stuff down. So it's like I'll just like chase that like to the ends. Then I'm like, oh wait, the whole point I'm doing this is to help people understand it. Then I'm like, oh yeah, right. I got to be like, okay, it means this, this, and this for you as an individual. But yeah, I don't know. That's just something that everybody's gonna have to work on in regards to Mercury, not Mercury, but Pluto and Capricorn.
Mhm.
But you wait, do you know a lot about degrees or no?
So the
Like, it's
degrees,
super deep, right?
I have the information. So the Pluto retrograde in Capricorn degree. So just to confirm with the dates, the Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is from the 11th of June to October time this year.
Yeah, October.
Now the retrograde started in Aquarius from the 1st of May up until the 11th of June there. And then the degrees for Pluto retrograde in Capricorn is from 29 degrees going back to 27 degrees. So yeah, you're really right. You're of course, Joe, it's so important to look at the Capricorn house for everyone to really see, what foundations and structures will you be revisiting? What new tools and things can you even implement? What can be practical and very useful? And I think just in general, I don't mean to go off on a bit of a tangent with this, but I think what I've noticed here is just the importance of focusing on the earth signs, the earth houses in your chart. The reason being because of the Pluto retrograde and Capricorn, yes, but also with Jupiter and Uranus being in Taurus, highlighting the importance of really focusing on our resources and our belongings, etc. And then also we'll have the Mercury retrograde in Virgo, which of course we will talk more about, but that creates then it activates all of the earth signs. And I think 2023 has been such an earth focused year in
Mm,
that a lot of us have had to really reassess, and I mean in very critical ways and responsible ways, cutting through the BS ways of
mm,
like, we need to see what is not working here and what we can change. Because the thing is Pluto is going to move back into Aquarius by January 2024. So hopefully the work that we do now and the things that we implement now can help prepare us and plan. We can help plan or prepare a little bit more for what is to come. Yeah.
sure. But yeah, so I guess we'll give like more of a personal example. So for everybody watching, drop the house you have Capricorn in, so we can give a couple examples to how it'll actually affect you and stuff. But as of right now, to kind of like move it back into more of a grand like totality sense, like in terms of like planning your life, you need to look at where it affects you as an individual in like your own houses, like we just asked for, but also how it affects you in a grand sense, right? So what really happened once like Pluto jumped into Aquarius? It came out with like AI. AI jumped like what was it? Like they opened up Chat GPT in like November of last year, I think. And then like that was right around when Pluto actually like entered Aquarius or was on the cusp of it, right? And then now we're retrograding all the way back into America's Pluto return, which is very, very interesting in terms of the, global financial structure. Like as we're getting closer and closer and closer to 27 degrees, news is coming out about like, BRICS and BRICS Plus is actually having like their GDP exceed what the US does on its own, right? So they're really like, not to say that the US or like the US dollar is going away anytime soon. However, it is, taking note that while we're like really, really cusping on America's Pluto return and how they sort of like founded their power in the global scene, like coming back, it's just like really interesting to see how that revolution comes and how things begin or often how they end. Because America, like the dollar's Pluto return, you got to remember that's like 11 years after this one, so it's a whole other thing. But it's just interesting to see how, with these being the alignments that we experienced way back when America was founded and stuff, and this is what we're experiencing again, where they're actually having issues with how they gain power over the world. It's just interesting to pay attention to. So I'd be very, very, very keen on paying attention to what's going to happen when it actually goes direct on that degree of 27 degrees, which is on October 10th. So really paying attention to what's happening with that, and also paying attention to how that external like influence on like the world as a whole may affect you to what house you actually have, Pluto transiting in. Because if you have them in any of like say the second or eighth house, that like financial aspect may have more of like a larger influence on you than it would someone who has it in like their fourth house,
Well, that's really good. That's a really important point, isn't it? Thinking about it collectively, but also how that collective influence will, how that will play out then within your personal life. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting as well with the alignments to do with what you were saying about Pluto's return. Is it the Pluto return for the USA? I'm obviously not from the USA. Yeah. The Declaration of Independence was signed whenever Pluto was in Capricorn as well. Yeah.
Degrees.
And then sorry.
No, you're good. And it's like super interesting to when you start thinking about like the actual alignments in astrology of like how like countries were founded and stuff like that. Because it's like, America was technically founded on Cancer values, and that's why like the nuclear family was so popular with like, that's what gave us our strength. And then like it's also interesting to see that like, yes, it was founded on like Pluto and Capricorn. So when you integrate with that opposition, it's just like, yeah, the whole vibe is like, family, white picket fence, red door, blah, 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 blah. But it's also interesting to see like the opposition effect of where it's just like the first thing you say when you meet somebody is you ask them like a very 10th house question of it's just like, what do you do? What is your status? And like that's like the first thing that they ask, So it's just like interesting about like how all that stuff works. And you're just like, oh, if I really got to thinking about it, I could really think about it. But when it comes to actually doing something about it and working with it, it's a whole other story.
Yeah. And with Pluto even being in, because you mentioned the opposition there between Cancer and Capricorn, it sprung the memory of well, not memory, but the idea of with Pluto being in Cancer and Leo all those years ago, it was so family centered and child focused, child centered. But what we're actually noticing with Pluto in Capricorn, even coming to the end of Pluto in Capricorn and then going into Aquarius, that cusp, we are noticing a lot of people actually choosing not to have children. A lot of people choosing not to have families, and even choosing different paths when it comes to what you were saying, in terms of status and, what do you do? I think a lot of things are changing when it comes to that outlook. I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of like, yes, okay, what do you do? But what about the deeper layers? Let's talk about other things. And I think there is more of that conversation going on right now for a lot of people, opening up and really questioning. I think Pluto in Aquarius has really, even coming up to Pluto in Aquarius, of course, over the past few years, I think a lot of people have, what's the whole terminology of, they've woken up, right? It's like the whole thing of when you're in the matrix, or do you want the blue pill or the red pill? And just, a lot of people questioning, I think, what they've been taught.
Well, I mean, like that's like once we get into Saturn, we'll talk about like why that is, because that's much more what I was telling you off live, which was the combination between Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which is like the whole like revisiting of that like reformation energy, where it's just like, ugh, there's nothing to hold on to anymore. And since I haven't done all this internal work myself, I don't have any external distractions to distract myself. So why live anymore? And people are just being dramatic, and he was like, quit avoiding personal responsibility. But we're going to get to that.
Oh, yeah.
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 But yeah,
Oh.
but whatchamacallit, just a couple more things about Pluto and Aquarius, and then we can jump to the next one, and which is what we just experienced. Oh wait, then the next one will be Saturn, so perfect. But yeah, in regards to Pluto and Aquarius, that like what I kind of noticed, like we're like bouncing off the topic of like Saturn being like a warm up for Pluto, is Saturn and Aquarius was like a lot of people like really, really, quote unquote, finding their tribe in like Facebook groups, and basically just like absorbing all of those like basically absorbing all the ideas of like their favorite YouTuber, their favorite TikToker, just like absorbing those ideas of the group to like perform strength in their own mentality. So it's like basically kind of how I see like when Pluto goes direct, moves back into Aquarius, is just like the after effect of that, of just like, do you have power over your own mind, or you are like kind of like just a bot or like an NPC, like people say, in regards to like Pluto being that. And then also how is the people that like sort of I guess like manufacture those like groups of people, how are they going to use that as power? So I feel like it's going to be a very, very like interesting time in regards of like what it truly means to build a community and a brand, and what power does that really hold. Because it's
Yeah.
just because like we're just getting warmed up with like what it means to live with influencers, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Aquarius is show us like the power of like what that really means, because it's like for example, it's like like Greta Thunberg and her whole like escapades on like the environment and stuff like that, like like maybe like a 13 or 14-year-old really does know that much about the environment, but like, do they really? Or were they just like propped up and like given information to feel strongly about? Because it's just like, regardless of how old you are, I don't think you have that much time to research all that information and speak with such confidence without a little assistance. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's like more or less an example of like did someone like build their own audience, or were they kind of like had a little help? And I just think that we're going to see a lot of that with like Pluto and Aquarius going direct, especially. And then
Yeah.
the AI thing is going to be a whole other thing, because like if people think like that right now, like being able to integrate with like in a really smart probability machine, and in thinking that it's actual intelligence, like what's going to happen when it gets even closer to actual intelligence? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you touched on so many different points that I wish I could like dissect individually.
Oh,
But it's so true, because it does. I think the whole thing with AI is that it opens up a lot to do with morality and ethics, and it opens up the conversation of what is a living being. Um, and I think more and more we're going to notice these things. Thinking even about like multi universes and um yeah, I just think there's going to be a lot of debates. And also I think another thing with Pluto and Aquarius is the whole terminology of social construct. What is a social construct? I think there's a lot of conversation surrounding what a social construct, what certain things in life are social constructs, or are they actually natural? Are they more based on reality? So I think a lot of those conversations will be had. And then even with Pluto in Capricorn. So with I have the information about, at the beginning of this transit, and then I have some just like interesting things that I find. So Pluto, of course, entered Capricorn around 2008. And what we noticed around this time period was the global financial collapse. Banks and financial markets collapsed. 2023 then brings another crisis, of course, if we think about inflation right now, seeing the rise of interest rates, consumer prices, people losing their jobs, businesses closing. I've noticed so many businesses have been closing, and I mean small businesses. And also a recession is predicted for this year. And then what I find really interesting too is Pluto, of course, dipped into Aquarius. Yes, it gave us a glimpse of the future, but if we think back to Saturn, I think you mentioned this with Saturn being in Aquarius, but with Saturn being in Aquarius, we did experience, with lockdowns and everything. And I think what's been happening is with the lockdowns, right? A lot of people had a lot of free time on their hands, okay? And I think a lot of people actually started to practice different crafts, and they decided to explore different hobbies and talents, which is, of course, really interesting and beneficial for them. But at the same time, what I think has happened, this is just an observation, you know what I mean? Don't take what I'm saying as truth. But my observation of this is I think such experiences have created oversaturated markets, where there's like a lot of influencers, there's a lot of like artists, there's a lot of whatever, insert whatever. And I think that has created then this even more intensified need to support ourselves. And then if we even consider how the following on from the lockdowns and all the money that was needed for people. I mean, here in the UK, I don't know what it was like in the USA, but here in the UK, people were on different schemes for like money. They needed to be paid, and of course, it was just a certain amount of money that they were paid, but that is all owed back to the government, if you know what I mean. So it's being done through these high costs of, thinking about inflation and taxes as well. So we're sort of, in a way, it's like we're paying for it now, if you know what I mean. We're paying for all that happened now, and I think a lot of us are feeling that pressure then. And I think Pluto in Capricorn has been highlighting this pressure and this kind of need or this urgency to do with our survival.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I totally agree. And like, if you want to get into the specifics of like how that's actually happening, in the US, like you got to take into account, like with all that change, like that you mentioned, people being at home and stuff, what happened a lot was people got work from home jobs, right? So when you mentioned with like the 2008 financial crisis of starting with like the early degrees of Capricorn back in 2008, the underpinning aspect of what kind of started that, like, crisis was what everybody knows now, which is like the excessive exposure to subprime mortgages, where it's like they had really, really low interest rates. And they were just like, hey, you poor person, go buy this house. We got you with that low interest. And they're like, yeah, I can pay this off in the future. Why not? Put it on layaway. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So basically what's going on now is with everybody working from home, the sort of similar thing is happening with office space. So commercial real estate. So with that being like what underpinned, I mean, obviously, the nitty gritty of it is just like a lot of those like loans were in the US for those houses with all the poor people buying houses and shit. And then there was, basically, what banks did is they like traded those loans, and obviously that got into the global situation. But now it's basically a more like I wouldn't say it's like more in like actual like capacity, but commercial real estate is a little more expensive, especially for businesses. So we're kind of dealing with like that same thing, but on like a bigger scale. And then like there's also like all the stuff with like China and their like weird real estate market of like basically selling like because they're like building like thousands and thousands of just like buildings that people are treating as like investment properties. In reality, there's more buildings than there are people at this moment in time. So that's kind of like how it's sort of going to happen. So it's interesting to see how like history repeats itself with a more grander scheme. Yeah. And it's also interesting like with people talking about like how like AI is going to steal our jobs, and then it's like, come on, man, you lived through like 3 of these like technological revolutions by now. Goddamn, it's just going to shift. Shut up.
Yeah. Have you? It reminds me of there's the memes on Instagram, and it's saying about if only I had bought a house back in when they were a lot cheaper, and like, oh no, well I was 8, so like I'm always supposed to do that.
What do you want from me?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
But, before we jump on to the next planet and talking about that retrograde, we actually have somebody who has a Virgo rising. So speak about yourself and how Capricorns are going to influence you.
Yeah, so they want to know about how it will influence them with their Capricorn house in the 5th house, the Virgo rising. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say for Virgo risings, use this time wisely. And whilst Pluto is in Capricorn up until 2024, use this time wisely to really just go over any creative projects you've got going on, any hobbies you're interested in. Look at the foundations, the structures to do with your creativity, but also thinking about your romantic relationships. What's going on there? What can be restructured? What can be rebuilt? Are there any things that are not working? Anything that isn't working? And what else could I say? Just one more quick thing, so I'm not here forever.
Because then
other people. Okay, last thing I would say for Virgo risings is to even revisit the things in which you do for fun, just play time, consider how much time you are having off, etc. And try and consider your workload as well in that way.
All right, and I got Purnell, man, because we got the same goddamn ascendant. But so all right, you already know the answer. This is what's happening. Basically, you told me this too before we freaking did our podcast, because you basically said with Capricorn in the 3rd house, you already have the plan. You already got it going on. You already know. So with Pluto basically retrograding back through Capricorn, did you do that plan? Did you make it happen? Because you're going to be kicking yourself regardless. You know what I'm saying? If you did it or not. So you might as well do it. So with this, conscious revisiting of back, forth from Aquarius to Capricorn, it's like the simple version is, did you do your plan of how you accomplished and really, became the person you envisioned and planned for yourself? Or did you slack on it? Because now's the time to really accomplish all those things and really go back into that to-do list or Trello or whatever workflow app you use for your own like personal business and stuff like that, and check that out. But the also thing that's interesting is speaking with power, because like that's what it is. It's Pluto in your throat chakra. So did you use your power for good, or did you use it for bad? And do you even subscribe to that like framework of good or bad? You know what I'm saying? Because that's like really what it is. And goddamn well that I'm talking to myself about this too, because I love talking shit and speaking with confidence even when I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's probably what I'm going to revisit. But this isn't that case. But point being, it's like and then the last thing I'll say is, really, did you construct your mentality the way you thought, especially for Scorpio rising? That was a big thing. Because what I will say about Scorpio is people always talk about it being brooding, it always being like really emotional in nature. But I feel like the best way to describe that like higher echelon and higher nature of Scorpio is through that Scorpio stare, where it's just like, they just like look at you with that one specific emotion and that one specific thought. And the thing you can actually extract from that, talking about the higher echelon of Scorpio, and I've been saying this to myself for a while, where it's like, I really want to experience the upper echelon of what it means to be an evolved Scorpio. And what that is to truly move with precision, because that's what it is. And if you think about it from the standpoint of, Pluto and Capricorn, that's really giving you a lesson in the true exaltation of Mars, which is, also one of the things you told me. And in like the podcast thing where you were talking about like, the younger form of Aries would bash through 1,000 times. But when you truly adapt and combine that like, that Martian in conjunction to the exaltation of Capricorn, you combine that precision from Scorpio and that, energy and power from Mars to truly strike in that one point that you plan for, to make sure that you can make a mountain crumble instead of just bashing into it 100 times. So it's basically that pretty much, that lesson that you taught me, watch that video again to A, give you some watch time, and B, learn your own lesson.
That was so good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, ever since the whole like North Node conjunction, I've been on the whole like the whole vibe of like, my self-mastery is a true reflection of my external consciousness. And I was like, all right, well, now I got to get serious about life. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, self-mastery is such a Scorpio thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, wait, he said something about, no, I guess it is. I never thought about it like that. He said, I gave that stare last night. First time in a very long time, but it was well-deserved and part of you. It's nice when your spirit guides allow you to roast the fuck out of somebody.
Oh, I would not be able to know. I do not. I envy Scorpios for the stare, because I have so I have my partner's Scorpio rising, and the stare is I.
Oh, so you're well.
Yeah, but then I see I try it on him, and it's just like, no, Hannah, No.
Yeah, he's not gonna
Like I'm a Virgo rising, I'm like, I
Yeah,
try to be intimidating and I'm just not.
but you can outthink him if you don't get stressed out.
Yeah.
You know you can do that. But yeah, I mean, if that's pretty much it, I don't think anyone else mentioned
No.
their houses.
I
Uh,
wonder. I'm
let's
going
move
to
on
like.
to let's knock out 1 out of 7 and let's get to the 6th one, which is Saturn. Okay. So Saturn is going to be retrograding from 7 degrees Pisces all the way to 0 degrees Pisces. And
Yes.
the actual start date of that is June 17th, which we just passed. So Saturn's retrograde. It happens every year. We're already dealing with the mirror. And it is going direct on November 4th. Okay, so just like every year, we got a whole lot of time in regards to Saturn being retrograde and looking at the mirror of what they built. So to basically break down the gist of what Saturn and Pisces is, Saturn and Pisces in a grand scheme is basically, the illusions of structure systems that we integrated in this day and age of life coming down, right? So the house of cards is coming down. The veil that, the powers that be presented in regards to the structure system that we're dealing with is coming down. And for all my people that are like, fight the power out there, as long as you're doing something more than just making a lot of noise about it in hopes that someone else will do something, I approve. But if you're just really talking about it and being like, yeah, man, wake up to the reality, and that's all you're doing, shut up. And then basically, what we're kind of dealing with that is we're dealing with it's obviously, once again, drop the house that you have Pisces in so we can get a more specific answer. But with Saturn and Pisces retrograding, we're kind of dealing with that like first integration of focusing on our own spiritual building blocks, our own spiritual routines. What because everybody focuses on, I mean, you could speak to this with all your Virgo-ness, like talking about like routines and how important they are to feel like secure and safe in yourself and stuff like that. But when we're dealing it with Pisces, it's like, what do we really need to focus on to make sure that our subconscious and our emotional flows is protected? And have you been integrating with that? Because before Saturn went retrograde while it was in 7 degrees of Pisces, it angled this star called Sattvakia, which is the actual, if you look at it angles the Aquarius constellation, and it's the actual like jug or the water holder, right? And the message that I was saying to that is like, if you're moving without any routine and moving without any emotional flow and you feel like dried out and tired, like you can't pour from an empty cup. You know what I'm saying? So that's what Saturn's trying to teach you in regards to really rest and really take that step back and just like, for lack of a better term, just sit there and marinate and do nothing so that you have some energies to work with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think what came up there is setting healthy boundaries between you and others. I feel as though so with Neptune being in Pisces for as long as it has been, I think from 2011 or so, what was really interesting about that was Chiron was also in Pisces, and Chiron and Neptune were sort of doing this dance for a while. And I think, especially back then, it brought up a lot of themes to do with our mental health, a lot of themes to do with merging too much. Like, I mean, toxic merging, I mean, unhealthy merging. And I feel as though Saturn in Pisces has come along and it's really like it. I felt it in terms of no. Take responsibility for your emotions. Don't take responsibility for other people's emotions. That is such a Pisces thing, especially Neptune being in Pisces, home in the sign. So I feel like a lot of the Saturn stuff is to do with owning your own emotions and also owning your projections. What I found with Neptune being in Pisces over these years is a lot of questioning, a lot of opening up about things like gaslighting and narcissism and projecting. We've seen it everywhere. I mean, the amount of people talking about it today, such Neptune and Pisces themes. But Saturn and Pisces is coming along and it's saying, okay, I feel like you were sort of touching on this a little bit in a way, Joe, because it's like, because to me, it sort of feels like the amount of times, you can maybe say, oh, you're projecting. But what at the same time, when you're saying you're projecting, what are you bringing? What, you know what I mean? The person who's saying it, what is it that you're projecting as well? And I feel like that is what you were, sorry?
What are they doing to make you resonate with that projection? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you have to be able to. I feel like Saturn and Pisces is saying you have to be able to look at yourself, to look in the mirror, to say like, this is my inner work, this is my spiritual healing, this is my spiritual growth. And just because, you know, maybe other people are going through their own thing, it doesn't mean that I should, you know, interfere, or I should, you know, project all that stuff onto them. Also, like the whole question or the whole thing of coming from a place of this moral high ground as well, I feel like is a lot to do with Saturn in Pisces. And then too, spiritual bypassing and people pleasing. People pleasing has been such a big, I feel like people pleasing has been huge over the past few years, that, you know, and I do also feel as though with the whole topic of mental health, the amount of like words, you know, like the words you pick up that become so well known or quite people pick up on them because they're obviously relating to them and stuff. But I feel like it dissolves the message. It dissolves the true meaning of the word. Whenever you say, you know, the same thing over and over and over, you have to be able to bring it back and think, well, what does it actually mean? Does that make sense? I feel like Saturn and Pisces is waking us up a wee bit to go, okay, but I need to think here what I'm saying and what is being activated with
Oh, that
me.
makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then it's like I think what you were getting at when I was talking about was were you talking about the point that I made in regards to Saturn and Aquarius, or the point I made in regards to like the whole like Saturn and Neptune working together?
Saturn and Neptune working together.
Oh yeah, yeah. So basically, I think that whole like what does it mean? It comes from the same energy that we were dealing with in regards to the reformation energy that I brought up before. Because it was like, when was the last time Saturn and Neptune were in Pisces together? And it was like the 1500s, back when Martin Luther was, you know, slamming them 99 theses on that door, and they didn't even have tape yet, so he used a nail. So you know it made a scene when he put it on that door, and they heard it. He didn't run away and hide and use some scotch. He hammered that nail on there and was certain with how he felt about that. And what did it do? It basically, like, you know, dissolved the hold that the Catholic Church kind of had on the world. And we got, you know, obviously the Lutheran Church and all the other like different sects of Christianity that basically like formed this energy, right? But what is the core energy that like led to this? It's the kind of like fallout in the illusion of an external moral system and guide in terms of your own spirituality. So if you notice a lot of people just kind of like sitting around being like, ugh, what's the point of anything anymore? Why do we do this? Because there's no like, you know, genuine thing that binds everybody together in society and creates harmony. That's pretty much the Saturn and Neptune working together. So now when they go retrograde, this kind of like brings up the energy of when we start talking about all the retrogrades holistically, because like this summer is basically going to be like a summer of nostalgia. That's going to bring back all those vibes from like 2015, 2016. And like, I think we really got a glimpse of that on the solstice on the 21st. Because like, for example, like I was out, you know, doing as I do, being a wild man, gallivanting through situations across the world. And the whole time I like, when I was like going across, was I just kept hearing music like from that time of like 2015, 2016, you know, Rihanna was shining like a diamond, like all that stuff was going on, just like just all that music. And like, for example, I mean, like obviously they were playing that music because like I was at an amusement park, and then I went to the climbing gym, and then I went to the beach. Like it was a whole day. But long story short, like the vibes of like 2015, 2016 were like key, because like, for example, like what I was doing at that time was like setting dumb plans for my friends, them not working out, but then we were having fun anyway. And not only was I doing that and engaging in that experience, but I was also, you know, hearing the music of that time too. So I just thought that was like a very, very interesting point in regards to, you know, like setting the vibe for what the summer's going to be. Like it's going to be like our like last experience of what that old world was before we go full force in the new world.
Yes, the way you just said there, it's just I don't know, I just like feel things.
Yeah.
So no, okay. I want to dissect this a little bit.
Collect those thoughts.
So you said about 2015, 2016, which is just so on point because obviously Venus was last retrograde in Leo in 2015.
Right.
And then also you said about the last time kind of thing, and then this makes sense because Saturn and Neptune will move into Aries by 2026, which is so interesting because it's going to be from the 14th of February. They're going to be 0 degrees for like a couple of weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So Yeah, and then of course Uranus will move into Gemini that year.
Whoa.
Chiron will even move into Taurus like a year or two later. What am I missing? Pluto obviously as well will move. So yeah, we really are on the brink of like huge collective shifts, like you said, like a new world. But going back to the nostalgic part of it, so
Mhm.
true. I just feel like a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of reflection and sentimental. Yes, maybe we may even experience this through Cancer season, because Cancer within itself is such a sentimental sign and a nostalgic sign within itself.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I feel like a lot of people will be really diving into themselves in terms of, oh, remember how it used to be, or wasn't it so much better back then, or even how much have I learned. I think that's a big part of it too,
Yeah,
recognizing
yeah,
how
yeah.
much you have freaking learned. And that's so important, I think, with the retrogrades. It's like, don't like, if there's anything that comes up that's superficial, that's meaningless, so that's perhaps a big Saturn and Pisces theme as well, like things that are just meaningless, don't go for it. Just sit back and just recognize how much you've changed. So you were saying there about your experience back then. When how old was I was 20, 23, 24 back then. And that was, I would say that that was not the best time of my life. I'm going to be completely honest. You know, it was
Oh,
really
dang.
hard, and I felt quite lost. I was quite directionless. And then I actually did find astrology in 2016.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that, I think that's really interesting. And then I think astrology has been such a great tool for self-development and self-awareness.
For sure.
And also, I've been in group psychotherapy for the past 3 years, which I think has helped me so much in
Yeah.
terms of owning myself.
Mhm.
So yeah, what's coming to my mind just collectively is a lot of people just being able to recognize that, no, I've grown, I'm more mature, I'm not going to fall for the same things that I used to. And even if I do, I can learn from that as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, totally. And that'll really come up once we talk about Venus retrograde, because everybody's ex is coming back, and it's gonna be fun.
No.
Mm. But yeah, but I guess I don't know. Other than talking about like people that like, I feel like we kind of covered it with Saturn. Like there's really not much to it. It's just more or less like well, I guess the other point. Oh no, the other point is like the progression from Saturn and Aquarius and your decision making process. Like, did you build up your own stubborn certainty regardless of what people are saying amongst the collective, aka being able to be peer pressured? Or did you dive into the group of your peers and use that strength? And now that Saturn's in Pisces and that strength isn't exactly, you can't exactly draw it from the group anymore. Are you kind of like wallowing in your lack of like, I guess not necessarily like not even it's just what Purnell said was funny. But like really kind of like wallowing in the lack of that like group dynamic and group support, and kind of like recognizing the fact that like you're drawing your energy from an external source and you really shouldn't, aka what the whole 7 degrees of Pisces is trying to teach you. So yeah, I don't know. I find that interesting and seeing like what people are dealing with. But yeah, but whatchamacallit, the Purnell has his Saturn in the fourth house. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, no, that's actually really interesting in regards to you going back and see your family, because that's like,
Is that in Aquarius?
it's actually in Pisces in the fourth house.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, like, you know what they say about like Saturn in the fourth house people? They're like the ones that are like taking care of their family, making sure they're on schedule, making sure they're like they're the ones like sorting out the pills and putting them in the pill sorter and be like, no, you need your blood pressure in the evening so you don't get all loopy in the afternoon. Like that type of energy of like Saturn in the fourth house, where they're the ones like taking care of their family and stuff. So I found that was interesting, because it's like when he was talking about like his story on like on when he was like up visiting his family, he was just talking about how like he was like really like helping them like integrate their charts and figuring out how to like kind of like work together as a person. I just find it interesting that like Saturn and Pisces kind of like pushed you to do that, especially when it's in the fourth house, because that just really like it just like directs you so much towards your family and like being like the pillar and the rock that they need in like any and every aspect. And it's kind of like a thankless job. Like if you're a dude, that's the closest thing you can get to like being a mom, I think, and like my understanding of astrology, at least. This is just like you're the one taking care of everybody. It's a full-time job, and that's just what's going on.
Mm. Yeah, and that can be hard, I think, to play that role, you know, to feel like you have to be the one who has to support everybody else. It can, yeah, it can be a lot to deal with. Saturn energy, of course, you know,
There's
carrying the weight. Yeah.
there's
Um,
also strength.
and I and another there was another thing that that sprung to my mind there was what I've noticed with Saturn even being in Pisces and even just before entering Pisces this time around is I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of people are actually choosing not to drink alcohol today. A lot of people are choosing to be more conscious of their alcohol intake. And I think the same could be said when it comes just to drugs in general. I'm just spelling that because demonetization.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Saturn and Pisces is going to just make us a lot more aware of our usage. You know, what are our emotional crutches? What are our crutches? I can't remember.
No, you got it right, Coach.
Yeah. And our addictions as well, you know, any sort of addictions. And of course that can extend past what I just said. It can be other forms of addictions. But I do also further want to say I really like to make things balanced. I like to kind of look at both sides of things, and I feel like my previous information wasn't really well rounded. So
Oh, what do
what
you
I
mean?
want I wanted to also say, just following on from what I was saying earlier. Oh gosh, what was it? There was a point that I was making earlier. Yes, do a people pleasing. Okay, in terms of saying, a lot of people were noticing terminology of people pleasing. I think at the same time, it's also been beneficial for us to look at these terms and to explore these ideas and these concepts a lot more. You know, thinking about gaslighting and projecting, etc. It's good that there has been more of an awareness surrounding these things as well, because I think going back to the whole retrograde of Saturn and Pisces and Neptune and Pisces, I think that the merging element of these retrogrades and just, I suppose, these planets being in Pisces in general does look at how unhealthy merging can be. So yeah, I think being able to bring more awareness toward what is actually going on, you know, having a name for something, you know, having a name for what you're experiencing emotionally can be really, really beneficial. And there are so many wonderful, amazing therapists out there doing the work, like helping so many freaking people. So yeah, that's what I mean. I like to keep things well-rounded in terms of I can see the benefits to something, I can see what kind of works in that way, but then I can also see, you know, maybe where are things too much, or where do you take it too far? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that, and like that really just kind of like rams home like the whole like you not being responsible for other people's emotions, you know. So I think like that's what like Saturn and Pisces is really bringing up. But where we kind of take a turn in terms of the next retrograde is Neptune going retrograde on the 30th, all the way back into 25 degrees of Pisces before we hit the cusp of you know, it going direct in Aries, which is like with all those Saturn and Neptune and Aries and Uranus and Gemini, that's in 2025, that's gonna be like you pick a new country type of energy, you know what I'm saying? Because every time Uranus goes into Gemini, at least for America, we experience a civil war of some degree. So, or some type of war. Because there was like the world wars, and then before that it was like the actual civil war, and then before that it was the I think it was the what was it? It was like one of those like brief little wars, like the French and Indian War, because it was in the late 1700s, I believe. But yeah. Anyways, whatchamacallit, don't be in the U.S. during Uranus and Gemini, but that's a story for another time. But yeah. Anyways, Neptune retrograde. I feel like that's like really, really like dabbling into the delusions. And when we experience that, that's really what's gonna like bring people. That's what's really gonna like spark people to say like oh, remember this? This was so good back in the day. We were making this happen. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's gonna be a whole lot of that. But when it's compounded with Saturn and Pisces, people are going to start like building off of their delusions, building off of their experiences. And we're really like retrograding with all the outer planets, at least like back into the degrees of what we started with at the beginning of 2022. So it's going to be interesting because like if you had opportunities under those alignments, those opportunities will pop back up. But it's like you can't necessarily go back to what it was. You know what I'm saying? So it'll just be interesting because like that'll be like, especially if it's like some type of like financial opportunity, like that's going to be like unique because it's just like, what are people going to do? Like, especially like if they need that money, because it's like, it'll really just be like dangling a carrot in front of a stick, kind of like setting you back to where it was. Because I feel like if you take opportunities under certain retrogrades, like you just kind of get like stuck in your life with that like retrograde planet energy. And it's like that opportunity will be like a much bigger setback than you think. I'm sure there's like always like a magical option 3 where you could pick some type of like externalized thing and like do something else. But, you know, we're not all geniuses out here and it might just be easier to avoid it. But who knows?
Yeah, and we, you know, for the majority of people, you have to really think practically about things. You know, what do you have? And yeah, I think Neptune retrograde in a way, it sort of goes hand in hand with the Saturn retrograde. You know what I mean? You were saying we just talked about Saturn retrograde, but I think with the Neptune retrograde, obviously, it's going to be a lot more dissolving. And perhaps, like you were sort of suggesting there, you know, addressing your own delusions. So really just taking a moment to see what is fantasy and what is real. There's that whole thing with Neptune. It's like, is it real? Is it not real? And the thing as well about this is Neptune retrograde will eventually make an in conjunction to Venus retrograde. I know we're going to be talking about Venus retrograde, I believe, next.
Yeah.
Or no. Yeah, next. Yeah, it's next. So I think especially with that in conjunction, yeah, the rose-colored glasses, the falling for false promises, empty words. So I think with Neptune retrograde here, just show caution. And I know that can be easier said than done because often, you know, our hormones can go nuts and there's very scientific reasons for why, you know, you may give in to something or whatever. But yeah, I think maybe it even just brings it back to a little bit of awareness and being able to kind of see, right, okay, what are my actions here? How can I maybe control the outcome rather than just getting carried away? I feel like with Pisces, Neptune and Pisces, it's just like, oh yeah, we're going here now. Okay. Flow, just flowing with it mindlessly and living in this kind of like daydreamy state. So yeah, I think being able to ground ourselves a little bit would be really, really helpful. And being able to check in with ourselves. And you know what, as well, I think a big message is coming up for me is take time. I think in general for the summer, take time. Like if anyone watching this, if you over the summer feel like people are pressuring you to make a decision right now, and I mean this in terms of any sort of relationship, any financial decision, anything in life, you feel like there's just pressure on you, just maybe it's a good idea just to go, you know, I'm going to take my time. And why am I being pressured here? Maybe there are real physical reasons why we need to make decisions quickly, right? You know, survival, etc., or you miss out on an opportunity. But I think it follows on from what you were saying, Joe, you know, in terms of just don't get caught up in those plans or those decisions super mindlessly or instantly. And yeah, just take a beat. That could be useful.
Yeah, I mean, like I have like 2 points to that. One being, I feel like a lot of people are gonna have like a finding God moment and then be super unfulfilled when they go to church, and it's just gonna be kind of like funny from an external standpoint. And then I also, damn, what was my next point? I had a good ass point. Yeah, I don't know. It'll come back to me.
It'll come back.
Anyways, the next well, do you have anything else to say about Neptune retrograde, or is that it? Or can we move on to Venus?
Yeah, let's move on to Venus, because I feel like we, you know, with Saturn in Pisces, we did touch on quite a lot, which even in a way blended in the the Neptune energy a bit. So yeah.
They're basically working together, you know.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But anyways, Venus, we have Venus retrograding at 28 degrees of Leo, which is right before one of the four royal fixed stars, which we'll get into at a point in time known as the future. And it is retrograding on the 22nd of July. And then it goes back direct again in Leo on the 3rd of September. And this will coincide during that time. Mercury will also go retrograde. So it's like, it's just going to be a funny moment of like that kind of like wanderlust energy of like, you really want to chase past passions and then you can't experience it or really explain it in the way that you want. So you're just going to kind of go with whatever feels right at that moment in time. And things are going to be so goddamn retrograded at that point in time, especially once Mercury goes retrograded. And that'll be the peak right between that space between August 20th and September 20th, because at that peak there will actually be seven. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. There'll be about like damn near 7 planets actually retrograding. There's going to be like a little like hip hop moment where Venus goes direct, and then right after that Uranus goes retrograde. So there'll be like a brief like one. It'll basically be one day, which I believe is the which actually will be between September 3rd and 4th, where there are full on 7 planets retrograde. And the whole point of when we're talking about like these retrogrades in like a holistic sense is while things aren't moving forward and you don't really have the time to build the way you want, this is especially true for a lot of like Aries dominant placements, you can't push forward. But what you can do is figure out a better way that acquires you more leverage in the next time you can build forward. Because at the end of the day, the name of the game is finding the best relationship between the input of your energy and the output that you want back. Because it's like, do you want to? It's like what them people say on the interweb is about retiring and having like your money like put away. If you don't make money while you sleep, you're gonna be working every day of your life. And do you really want to do that? No, probably not. So sign up for our company match with a 401k, god damn it, and stuff like that. But back to the whole point of Venus and Leo retrograde. Venus and Leo, there really isn't that much of a highfalutin like spiritual way to describe it. Like straight up, it's just going to people be basically chasing their like past passions, and for a lot of people, that's going to be like wondering about that ex and like really bringing them back up, and probably doing questionable things on a beach, possibly in a porta potty, because that's just the vibe of what's going to be going on.
And I think as well with that, perhaps revisiting
past passions.
Yeah, like you were saying, past passions, but I think that's connected to, in a way, I think there's a part of it where it's connected to our inner child, our childlike selves, the things that we do for fun, play, spontaneity. And that even, relationships aside, maybe there's plenty of people out there who are single and they're happy single, and they would never dare like take their ex back or take the bait. And if they were to get a message from their ex, it's just like, bye, or they've probably got them blocked on so many accounts or whatever. But anyway, the point being, I think that another part of it is just reigniting that something that you used to do whenever maybe you were younger, or just even from a few years ago, reconnecting with a hobby, or even finding a new hobby and bringing your own sort of creative skills to it, or your creativity being awakened in some way because of a new hobby, because of something that you're really, really drawn toward. You said there about passions and desire as well, I think is a big theme to do with Venus in general, desire and beauty and harmony.
Well, that's why I mentioned the simple understanding of it, because it's probably the most true one. What about Virgo? I don't care about all this other crap. You gotta get a little more specific than that.
I need to. Okay, what about Virgo? Oh, so you want to know about Virgo, how it will affect Virgo, Venus retrograde?
I don't know. We'll wait for them to clarify.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talking about like Venus and Leo in like more of like a pure sense, like having Venus kind of like with Mars in Leo, it's sort of like that feeling of like it's like 2 years after you have that coming of age moment where you realize you're an individual, and you're basically just really, really focusing on like that kind of like get out of my room, mom energy, and you want to go hang out with your friends for like the first time to really discover who you are as an individual. So I feel like with it retrograding, people are going to kind of like come back to that, especially when they're in this space along with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, because when there's nothing to hold on to, there's a whole lot of opportunity to rediscover oneself. And I think a lot of people are going to be going through that. And why I say like a lot of people are going to be chasing that X back is because they are basically avoiding that experience of going back to who they are and like trying to like really having that self-discovery moment. So anytime you want to rediscover yourself and really get back to it, you kind of like distract yourself from that and really chase kind of like whatever's, in front of you. So yeah, I think that'll be very interesting to see, especially with people like kind of like breaking down and really showing like it's gonna be a really interesting time to like see how strong people are as individuals and confident are what they want to do.
Yeah, confidence is a big keyword with this. I think that it's like restructuring, rebuilding your inner confidence. If somebody saying something completely destroys your whole confidence, and maybe it's a good idea to maybe look at if your ego is super fragile, or if a comment someone says completely ruins your day, maybe it is a good way to kind of see like what is going on with me here. And of course at the same time, it's also being able to recognize that perhaps that other person, they're going through their own thing. And I just think looking at anything to do with our egos being quite fragile. And why is that as well? Like why is that? I think it's getting down to the why and coming down to self-reflection again, just bringing it back to the self.
Mm. Well, let's
Yeah.
see if people actually engage in that, but that's a whole other story.
What, sorry?
I said we'll see if people actually engage in that and really ask those questions this summer,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are gonna avoid it, but that kind of comes
Yeah,
back.
but that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, why do people avoid it? There's something, you think about the things that you've experienced maybe in your childhood, or where you talked down to, where you rejected, where you shut out from friendship groups. I just feel like Venus retrograde will get us thinking about those deeper, or forcing us perhaps to look at those deeper layers of ourselves. And yeah, you're right. Maybe some people are just like, no, I don't want to go there, because it's like it's too painful, it's too sore, it's too winding. And that even makes me think about Chiron being in Aries, which will make a trine to Venus retrograde, and Chiron will also retrograde this summer. So it's going to retrograde in July, I believe. And then the North Node moving into Aries. My
Yeah, when
gosh,
is the
yes.
North Node moving to Aries?
17th of July.
Oh God.
Yes.
Oh, that's gonna be a whole other thing. It's only gonna be
So
Martian.
much to do with the self.
Only
Like,
Martian energy. Mhm.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, as someone with you, I know you have an Aries moon as well, Joe. But as someone with an Aries moon, Chiron was on my. So I've got the moon at 15 degrees in Aries, and Chiron was
Oh,
on my
cool, right
moon.
around there.
You have it as well, right? That degree? Did you say?
No, it's around there. It's like 16 degrees.
Oh, yeah. So that was quite profound, to say the least, being really vague about that. But I
Mhm.
do feel as though it has taught me so much, about, okay, my inner authority, how to stand up for myself in a way that, I can advocate for myself. I can say what I want, or I can say what I need, and it doesn't have to be a battle. It doesn't have to be like a big challenge. And then the North Node as well, moving into Aries, I think is going to be very, very interesting for the Aries placements. I think really surprising for Aries placements, and perhaps motivating, encouraging, maybe what we really, really are looking for, and it will give us a great boost.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in regards to that, I kind of see it as I think people neglect the fact of how like internal of an experience Jupiter and Aries really was in terms of like pushing people through that space of just like growth and like self-development and really it showed you abundance through personal growth and like really seeing what you can go out and get for yourself. Like that's where it did that. So I think the North Node in Aries is basically going to be that applied. So it's like, okay, here's everything you learned. Now keep pushing forward and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it'll be a unique experience once they actually move in and trines. because I just think it'll be like it's just gonna work so much as like a collective thing in regards to Pluto and Capricorn as well, and really like focusing on like who you are, how you want to be, and who you want to grow as an individual, and showing you that you have the power to attain it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
that's
gonna
so
be
well put.
again. It's gonna be intense. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh my god, somebody has an Aries moon and an Aries north node. Well, tell us what to expect.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like, other than that, like, I think that pretty much covers it in regards to Venus and Leo retrograde. Like, it's we're almost getting to the point where we gotta talk about it as like a whole collective thing because it's gonna be the summer's basically gonna be everybody everybody on the beach is gonna have a moment of where they're just like sitting there and like it's just gonna be like a revolving door of like people like, sitting at each other, looking at each other, being like, so what are you thinking about? And they're like, oh, huh, were you talking to me? And then everybody's gonna be deep in thought, reflecting on themselves, and it's gonna be like basically long story short, there's gonna be a lot of sunburn because people like forget to put their sunscreen on just because they're so deep in like self reflection.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then what about, because it makes me think, what about the people who aren't really reflecting? Because I think you kind of touched on that point of like a lot of people don't have that awareness or they don't want to go within. So
Yeah,
it does make me think, during retrogrades, whenever it is a good opportunity for us to really reflect and to do some self-assessment, especially with the Leo energy coming up, and then you said there about Jupiter being in Aries there. But what about people who just don't want to go there? I mean, is it likely that things won't change for them? They'll be in the same sort of cycle, and I suppose that can happen often with life. You can get caught up in the same pattern, the same cycle until you break the cycle,
mm,
and sometimes you just don't get the message. And maybe some people this summer won't, you know. Or maybe they can break certain patterns, break certain cycles, see what isn't working, and hopefully use this time period to really do that self exploration.
yeah. I mean, I hope people do, but just like with so many retrogrades like this, think back to like what happened last fall. Like that's when people experienced it last and really were like sitting there like just like, huh, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I don't know. It'll be interesting because like I feel like this one is going to be a much more intense and much more fast moving, and people are just going to have like lots of opportunities to like move forward and be hyper motivated, but at the same time really just like avoid it too, just because all we're going to have is Mars and then North Node and Aries. So people are just going to be pushing forward in kind of like a dramatic way, and
Mhm.
regardless of if that's with themselves internally, I feel like there's just like a huge opportunity to like basically like chase your tail and just like move forward really really fast and really get nowhere at the end of the day.
Mm,
And I feel like there's like a big opportunity to like do that, but we'll see.
yeah.
We will definitely see.
Yeah.
It's only getting more retrograde as time goes on, so
But yeah, do you know what as well? What's sprung to my mind with that is with Venus retrograde, I mean it's in Leo. So I feel like with that Leo energy, it's gonna maybe help a lot of people with their sense of self, with this whole concept of, well, what does it mean to love yourself? What does that really mean? I mean, those terms are thrown out so much, like
yeah.
love yourself, but what does that fuck mean?
Oh,
I didn't mean to swear there, by the
that's okay.
way. I'm
I
sorry.
probably did it once already.
But yeah, it's just like, what does it actually mean? I feel like that will be a big part of this retrograde as well, in terms of what does self-love mean. Um and
It's
exploring.
interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was joking around with like another astrologer on a live one time where I was just like kind of went on the tangent of talking about like the cheat codes of how to be astrologer, and I was just like, all right, so this is how you do it. If you want to know the cheat code, basically what you need to do is you need to be born as a busty woman and you need to focus on synastry, purely synastry. That's how you do it. And I think in some weird way that's going to be like that's will be very in reference to like the low hanging fruit of Venus and Leo, whether that be through avoiding your own personal issues and self development, diving into that X head first, probably, and then like just really, really, what's the word? Like just taking any chance you can to exert energy and avoid the issue at hand.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's going to be a really, 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 really big thing that people don't pay attention to the way they should. And it's just like, and I really want to keep like stressing this point, even though it is mildly repetitive, but just like don't avoid that reflection, because basically what's going to happen when planets move forward is like, once Pluto goes forward, how are you going to feel once we still have what, 4 retrogrades going on? And then the people that did the self-reflection do achieve that next level of self-mastery. And by the time the planet goes direct, Pluto is actually happy with you. And then you gain some power and control over the status that you wanted, which could lead to, confidence in yourself, monetary gain, relationship gain, and just general authority over your life in the collective that you really desired and had the time to handle. But then you said no. So then now you're going to basically have a whole moment when Pluto goes direct of where you're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to help me, universe. And then they're just like, we gave you an entire summer where you could have fun, listen to, prime 2016 music.
Yeah.
And not to bring up the same Rihanna song, but I can't think of any of the songs that came out at that period in time. But
oh, don't you worry, child. Don't you worry, child.
Yeah, there's gonna be a but no, I was just gonna make the diamond reference because it's like you couldn't handle the pressure, so you didn't become a diamond. So
yeah.
Try again later.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah, I love the way you put it. It's so powerful, that message, isn't it? And I'm pretty sure when Pluto does go direct, Mars will be in Scorpio at the time. It'll be in Scorpio.
Oh, well, talk about precision, like I was saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think as well with Venus going direct in September, Juno will be in Leo as well, and it will make a loose conjunction to Venus along the path until Venus does eventually enter Virgo. I think I'm pretty sure that's the path.
Watch out for babies.
Yeah, and that is so true, because I think that's the discussion. Honestly, I think a lot of people are going to be discussing children. I think a lot of people are going to be discussing the meaning of their relationships, and of course that doesn't just have to be children related. That could also be, are we moving in together? What are we? That's coming up in my brain right now. It's like, well, what are we? I think that.
Oh, I love those questions. I distracted and confused them so well, but yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's like I know a lot of people fear that, but I actually love it when that question pops up, and I just say some of the most wild things that make you forget you even asked that question. But the point is like with, did you say Venus was going to be conjuncting Juno while it was in retrograde or while it was direct?
I think they do make a very, very loose conjunction when Venus is retrograde, and then because Juno is entering Leo, you see, on the 15th of August, and so I think it does end up making this loose conjunction to Venus retrograde, but the conjunction is a bit closer when Venus is direct from the 3rd of September all the way through to Venus leaving Leo.
How many like degrees are we talking? Do you know, or
not? 4 or 5 maybe. I would need to look up the complete.
That's fairly close to the orb, so we'll call it like that. But yeah, don't get your ex pregnant, because like that's like that might be what it is. You might move back in with your ex. You might restart things with your ex. Like, don't do it. It's really as simple as that. Unless you really want to and you wanted them to come back. But like, I don't know about you. I don't want to get into a relationship again with somebody that broke up with me. Why would I want to do that? Or you broke up with them, That's like are you really gonna get over that and forget that? No, you're not. Don't lie about that.
And then I also think another type of relationship maybe to do with this is for people who are in committed relationships. It may be an opportunity for them to, maybe reflect upon their desires, what they need romantically from their partner. I think often when it comes to long-term relationships is you can forget to make time for each other. And I think as well that's probably because a lot of people are really busy. We have such busy lives, especially today. Everyone's having to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think in that way, a lot of people can lose. They can lose a bit of that connection. Then at the same time, relationships can go through cycles. They can go through phases. So I think with Venus retrograde, maybe it's just going to be a part of a cycle. It's going to be a part of a phase throughout the relationship. Maybe where you are questioning, okay, well, you know what, I haven't really connected with you in so long, or, you know, would you maybe like to revisit the place that we used to go for food or ice cream? It was interesting because I was speaking with Jasmina. She's a lovely astrologer about the Venus retrograde in Leo, and we were bouncing these types of ideas off each other, which was really cool. She's also a Gemini. So yeah, I feel like similar to what was being said there. These kind of thoughts are coming up today.
No, for
So
sure.
that's a possibility, perhaps for many people. You know, if you are in a committed relationship, just yeah, perhaps it's that you and your significant other, or whoever you're with, it will just be a moment in time where there's just more conversation or surrounding the joy you experience, the activities you do together, the time you share with each other. And then the interesting thing about this as well is Mercury will enter Leo on the 11th of August. And I'm pretty sure it will make a conjunction to Venus retrograde as well throughout the summer. So communication, conversation to do with children and love.
Yeah, there's just gonna be
So
a whole lot of that. A whole lot.
yeah, yeah,
Man, I'm low-key not excited for that for personal reasons. Yeah. Oh my god, that's gonna be so dramatic. It's gonna be dramatic too. So
yeah.
dramatic.
Leo
It's gonna be like,
drama.
yeah, like, oh my god.
Don't give in to the drama. Don't give in to the
No.
drama.
I'm just like thinking about like a lot of hilarious like situations like uh like ooh like I'm just trying to think about like how many millions of people are gonna attempt the whole I love you gambit and who's gonna say it back and who's not. Because you know that's gonna happen. And it's gonna just be like literally like oh, to talk about all the dramatic things that are going on the beach. Not only are people gonna get sunburned, but people are probably gonna get sunburned and like there's gonna be a mark of their hands going like this because they're gonna be covering themselves going, ooh, a whole lot of that. So if you see somebody with like a mustache like tan line, you know they were talking shit.
They just got rejected.
Yeah, they just got rejected.
That's terrible.
There's gonna be so many corners I'm gonna be sitting and just like laughing my ass off because I know what's going on. And then I'm gonna like it's gonna be retrograde. You're just gonna be able to like walk up into all this drama and basically just like people are gonna have such a lack of idea of what's going on. You're just gonna be able to walk into so many conversations, insert yourself, and talk about astrology.
Yeah.
They're gonna listen. They're gonna listen. That's the funny part. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
It'll be you as the Gemini, just like the mischievous one, floating in and out of all
Yeah.
the gossip.
Hey, wait a second. Isn't that the guy that started this drama? What are you doing? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's my twin. And they're
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that is."
Wait, hold on then. Hold on. I have a quick question then. I have to ask this question, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
The whole
say it.
thing of like Gemini being two-faced, yes. Okay, that is the whole saying about Gemini two-faced. That's something that I would say isn't necessarily true, but you are a Gemini, right? So as a Gemini, is the two-faced thing true?
Okay. I have a very, very long answer to this because I think about it all the time. No pun intended. So I don't necessarily think the two-facedness is, I think like that concept is extremely disrespectful. I think it comes, I think I've explained to you this before, the like deep relationship between Capricorn and Gemini, which is they're on two both opposite ends of the mentality. One constructs the mentality, aka Capricorn, and then one has the option to browse and pick and choose different mentalities of what it wants. And I think this comes from two different places for Gemini, where it's like they have such a different like broad aspect of like how many sides of their personality there really is. Because as a Gemini, you're a person who's born with a lot of working memory, right? So it's like when, for example, when they integrate with an argument, they can see this side, the other side, and then they can also separate themselves to a totally unbiased aspect of the mentality and see option three, right? So when you're a person that has the, you know, not only the ability, the engagement, but the opportunity to work in so much dynamic like integrations and like output of moving through certain mentalities, no, like two-faced, like if you're gonna make the two-faced argument, you might as well say ten-faced. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
Yeah, you're
it's
multifaceted.
yeah. Well, thanks again for simplifying. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's basically they're just so multifaceted in regards to how they actually like just like think, move, and operate. That like I don't think people give them enough credit for like how capable they really are. You know,
Mhm.
because it's just like someone with like true like Gemini aspects. Like me, I have it with a lot of Mars, so it's like I have like the Gemini-ness on steroids of where not only can I do it really fast, but I also will change and adapt like myself as an individual to fit whatever my focus is. So it's
Mhm.
like you really got to look at like the sun, moon, and ascendant when you're integrating with the Gemini energy. But yeah, to make a long story short, no, two-faced is disrespectful. We're too multifaceted for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just sprung like a big series idea in my brain there.
Yeah, talk about it.
Oh, talk about it.
Yeah.
This yeah, what's sprung into my mind is like putting it out there. What sprung into my mind is so as a way to maybe explore different sun signs or Mercury signs or whatever, to talk with astrologers about it, to maybe get to like, maybe like a Capricorn astrologer and a Cancerian astrologer, and to really dive deep together and to explore those two archetypes, because they're both going to be able to speak from their own experiences. Because you
Oh,
just
like
shared.
so you're talking about like leveraging the oppositions as like the mirror?
Well, yeah, you could look at it like that, or you could do whatever pattern, you could do
Yeah.
like Aquarius, Gemini, like I'm an Aquarius, you're a Gemini, or like Aries and Leo, I just think that would be a really cool thing to do, because as an astrologer, you would have that deeper understanding about what each of the archetypes are, and then also you are that person. Do you know what I mean? Like you show that energy, like your sun is that. Do you know what I mean? So you'd be able to explore it a lot more. That'd be fun. That'd be fun series.
No, it would be super cool. Like, I actually do a live with another guy on TikTok who's actually a Sagittarius. So it's like we like balance each other out because like he'll just be going on a rant and I'll be like, "Hey, yo, shut the fuck up, stop sagging." And then because like he'll just go on a rant that like either A, he's like repeating what he already said, which I hate, or B, he's just like getting too off topic. And it's just like, if I'm telling you you're getting off topic, how off topic are you getting? And it's like it's no disrespect to this guy, but it's just like I feel like we balance each other out great in that aspect of where,
Yeah.
bro, we came here with a purpose. What are you doing? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's also like you have that shadow aspect, you have the shadow sides of each other. You
Yeah.
have parts of each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, wait. Oh, shouts out to the chat. They're jumping right now. Yes, exactly. That Aries moon. I will roast you at any point in time for no reason. And you will not even feel bad about it because my Gemini-ness will distract you from how lighthearted it actually was. Yeah, no, and that touches back on the to the like that's kind of like the same mechanism that I use to like distract people from the "what are we" conversation to buy myself another
Yes, bring it back.
to buy
Mhm.
myself another couple months of getting all the benefits of a relationship with zero responsibility.
Do you not think that's kind of deceptive though? Just to challenge you a wee bit.
Oh no! Well, see, you got to remember I'm a Scorpio
That's
ascendant here. I totally admit to my wrongdoing and deceptiveness.
But why would you continue to do it if you knew that it's wrong?
Well, see, the specific degree of my Scorpio ascendant. Well, this is where we can get all philosophical and be like, in the frame of right and wrong. You know? But to answer that specifically is I am a 21-degree Scorpio ascendant, which angles the fixed star known as Unukalauhai, and that star is the heart of the Serpent's constellation. So what that basically means, at least in my personal experience, is I grew up doing a bountiful amount of immoral things to learn the karmic aspect of it and to gain a heart, which is basically it's like you know how like they have the stories of like hackers turning good to like protect people from like bad hackers.
I've never heard of that story before.
Oh, so it's like you know how they have like black hat hackers and white hat hackers. So there's like the black hat hackers are the ones that'll be like, I'm gonna steal your information for XYZ reason and put it on the dark web. Whereas the white hat hackers are the ones that are working on the opposite ends of usually for various tech companies in like cybersecurity, where it's like, I know what these dickheads are doing. We're gonna stop them.
Okay. And are you suggesting then it's the same thing? It's just from different points?
Using that as an allegory to basically say that, you know, through living in what some may call as an immoral front, I'm learning the karmic retributions for that through my own personal reason to be like, okay, if you are going to do that, this is what you have to expect. So yeah, so it's like that's basically the energy of that specific thing. So it's basically long story short, you know, yeah, grew up like observing manipulation potentially firsthand, and then now I'm learning that, you know, that's bad, and now I can protect people from other things when I see that going on, and that's kind of like
okay, so it's like analyzing the consequences of your actions is sort of like you're already going to know what the consequence is going to be, so that's enough for you to know whether to do it or not.
That's an aspect of it, but yes.
Okay.
That's like the lesson from that star, because it's like you're the heart of the serpent. So it's like you're gonna start doing snake-like things, but then you're gonna feel bad about it and be like,
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like, long story short, that's why the retrogrades are gonna tingle that old part of myself, especially when all this relationship drama's going on, and I'm gonna have too much goddamn fun just messing with people. But anyways, aside from that, I think we've covered
Venus.
because it's so much fun to talk about. But yeah, that's also probably because I have my moon in my 5th house, so it's like I have like a very like Leo way of going about my
yeah.
It's just like that stuff just I don't know what to say other than it just ruffles my feathers.
Yeah, and the Aries part of it is just like, let's just move through this quickly, or like not get too attached or something. Yeah.
Well, see, the way like the Gemini sextile works is just like I'm just like, how can I just mess with you?
Yeah.
You know, it's just too much fun. But anyways, long story short, learn the karma from that, not doing it anymore, but possibly revisiting that with these retrogrades.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, the next retrograde that we'll be dealing with will be Uranus in Taurus, which I found super interesting.
Can I stop you a second? What about Mercury?
Oh, Mercury. Oh, Mercury? I forgot about that. I thought we kind of talked about that, but we didn't talk about it directly. You're right.
Do you want to open it up?
Yeah. No, I got you. Is it going to be in Leo or Virgo?
So it's going to be in Virgo. So it's all the way in Virgo, the Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, and it goes retrograde on the 23rd, which is the day that
Virgo. That's Virgo season, beginning of Virgo season as well.
Yeah. Oh well, ew. Yeah. That's going to be that's a whole web in itself. I just thought something else went direct on the 22nd of August.
Oh.
I guess I was mistaken. I was thinking of Venus again. But yeah. Anyways. Leah, talking about that, so that's interesting because I've recently been made aware, like another astrologer, I've been learning a lot recently, of like how the aspects and angles influence the transits of certain signs. So it's like, for example, Jupiter went into Taurus with a lot of hard aspects. It went into Taurus with a T-square, right? So with like the knowledge of that making, you know, the whole experience kind of like harsh and a little like just like painful, but you know, basically the abundance will be rewarded for people who are stubbornly consistent throughout everything is and that also man, sorry, I have an insight about North Node. But basically that's like pretty interesting because the sun will basically be going into Virgo, shining on the retrograde aspect of its favorite planet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. It's going to be like Virgo season is going to be weird because it's basically just going to stress Virgos out in a sense because things aren't going to be going as planned, like as possible, you know? Because it's like Mercury's retrograde in Virgo, the sun's in Virgo, and it'll basically be shining on those imperfections. So it's like all of that like Virgo energy of like it'll just be stressing people out because it'll be super like just like get your ass in gear because there's so many things going wrong, and it'll be like I don't know. I just really see it as like a stress test, like a very, 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 very powerful stress test where it's like you won't be able to hide from your imperfections or your lack of understanding in regards to things, you know? And I think a lot of people that like in the tech industry will be dealing with this a lot because it's like, you know, all of those like mechanical and like all those material things are from the planet Mercury. which is what kind of like rules over all that stuff, which is what makes technology on the fritz anyway. So that's also, I mean, that also kind of brings up that kind of brings up a point, because I forget which alignments they are, but there's also the same alignments as what was called the Carrington event, which is a lot of like solar flares that happened way back in, I think, like the late 1800s, where it's like people could see like the aurora borealis all the way down and like by the equator almost. So I think that'll be an interesting time, especially in regards to having like a super Mercury retrograde on steroids in one of its favorite signs with the sun shining on it, kind of like showing people how like all the technology we use is kind of on the fritz. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a well studied enough on that theory, but that is kind of what popped into my head of like a high potential for like, technology being on the fritz. I know that was a long rant, but I just,
no, it's good. It's good to I take it in and I process it. You were saying there, just following on from the point of Virgos maybe finding it challenging to, I can't remember exactly word for word, but finding it hard to keep up or organize things, etc.
Well, their imperfections are going to be on display. Basically.
Their what? Sorry.
Your imperfections are going to be on display, for lack of
the first house. But I do think, especially with Saturn retrograde opposing Mercury retrograde, I do see that happening where it can maybe feel like it's difficult to keep things level, to keep things steady and consistent. And of course, Virgos do like to have some type of routine, consistency, stability. Yes, they can adapt really well to new circumstances, to new environments, but there can be, like, I feel like you were kind of touching on this, there can be the freak out, there can be the stress, the worry. I would say for in this way, the Mercury retrograde may highlight a good bit of stress and worry, especially if we throw in all the other retrogrades combined. But I also think, perhaps in a more somewhat beneficial way, it can even be an opportunity for us to reassess our routines and our systems, and to maybe even use it as an opportunity, like an opportunity for a bit of growth, or an opportunity to really look at the little details. Maybe the littlest thing that we change can actually go a really long way. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there will be that trine to Jupiter as well. So keep in mind the Taurus energy.
I want to talk about that too. That's a whole move.
Yeah, so the trines to Jupiter, or to
Uranus.
the Taurus energy with Virgo. That's why I was kind of saying more toward the beginning, just the importance of really looking at those earth houses, those earth signs, because they're going to be such key players for, well, all of us this year, especially if you have placements, obviously, in the earth signs, and then even if, angular houses, etc. But still, I think this will be a way for us to realign ourselves. I think there's a lot of realignment when it comes to not just our everyday stuff, our routines, but also our work, our occupation, but then too our health. Of course, Virgo ruling health, our well-being, our wellness. And so, if it is that there are things maybe stressing us out over the summer, I think the Mercury retrograde in Virgo within itself, keep in mind it's exalted there, it's at home in Virgo as well.
I don't think it can over the summer as much. I think it'll be like more like towards the end of like where everybody just had this like wonderful fever dream of a retrograde, and then it's like, reality, come on, man.
What you think I'm
talking about like timing standpoint, because it's like, you don't really hit that Virgo energy till the end of the summer, but it'll smack.
It'll basically be like another huge thing to address. But I think, kind of following on from what I was saying there, I think it can be a way to maybe just to get right with ourselves, to, again, inward motion, reflection when it comes to retrogrades. But doing that on that more practical level, and also that health-based level. And I think as well, like, Virgo, I think, doesn't get enough credit for I think there is such a healing quality to Virgo. There is such a healing, like, energy to it, and a gentleness, a softness to Virgo. Yes, Virgo can be harsh and critical and demanding and really fussy, But Virgo can also be really, really kind and warm-hearted and gentle, especially toward animals, especially toward children. So yeah, I think ultimately all this is to say Mercury retrograde in Virgo, yeah, it can give us an opportunity to really look at the inner workings when it comes to, you know, things like healing and gentleness. And even with the Pisces energy thrown into it with the opposition, I think a big part of this summer is bringing it, yes, back to yourself, considering Venus retrograde in Leo and Chiron retrograde in Aries. Yeah, bring it back to yourself, North Node in Aries. But I think there's also that element of being able just to let go, you know, being able to be like, do you know what? Yes, there's all that mess going on. There's all that stuff happening over there. I don't need to get involved. You know, maybe that's a good lesson for Virgo, because Virgo can have the tendency of being like, oh, I need to fix this. I need to save this. I need to rescue this. Of course, Virgo has Pisces in the 7th house. There is that unconscious part of Virgo that feels like they need to self-sacrifice. They have to be like the martyr. They have to be the savior. But maybe this retrograde is even a collective level. Of course, we all have Virgo and Pisces in our charts, but on a collective level, it's like being able to draw back and go, hold on, why is it that I'm trying to rescue this person or take them under my wing? Or what is it about me that feels like I need to fix things all the time? And actually I can recenter myself and I can pull back and not get involved. So.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. But to kind of get off track a little bit, I drank a whole cup of tea and a cup of water, so I gotta take a bathroom break and get some more water. But yeah, I did see in the chat that there is someone else with Virgo rising, as well as someone I think Goddess Essence Energy. Is your Virgo moon in the 6th house, or is that just Venus?
Virgo moon.
Yeah. But anyway, I gotta take a break real quick. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. We'll talk about that first house.
No problem. Let me see. Oh, you say you're a Virgo rising and moon with the Pisces sun. Yeah, so perhaps, Charlie, you understand that balance or that back and forth that often presents itself. Virgo moon in the 8th house. Okay, so that would intensify things quite a bit for you, Goddess Essence. And also the 6th house Venus, I think, can be really beneficial in terms of you may genuinely enjoy your work or enjoy all those little mundane tasks. It's just interesting when I think about Virgo, because it's often labeled as quite a boring sign. Oh, so mundane and all those little tasks, like whatever, but really those things matter. And I, as someone who has Virgo rising and Jupiter and Virgo, I really enjoy my routines. I enjoy making my morning coffee, and I enjoy the little habits that I have going on, and I really enjoy the work that I do. So yeah, I think just simplicity is a big part of Virgo. Just enjoying the little things in life, I think, is a big part of it. So for you, yeah, with Venus in the 6th house, you may just enjoy the little things in life. You may enjoy just all the practical day-to-day stuff, which is great. And Jason, tea time. I know it's tea time. It's tea time for Joe. It's not really tea time.
I'm back.
Oh, Joe's back.
Yeah.
Small, sweet, caring times, that is the most reward. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but what the point I had to, Virgo being good, which Virgo's no offense, but Virgo's like my least favorite sign, just because it's my North Node in this lifetime, which I really would have rather had Pisces, because then the universe just takes care of you. You really gotta do much. And I love luck and superpowers in the universe taking care of me, because I have to deal with this Virgo energy as my North Node. But but point being is what people don't know about Virgo is that the reason why Virgo is represented as let me move back. Why Virgo is represented as the Virgin is because it's showing the full esoteric view of what it means to be immaculate, what it means to experience immaculate conception, which is the ability to create something with no external help whatsoever. So of course you're stressed out. Of course you're super judgy. You're the one that's like, forming something completely within like of yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's it's like that like sweet nature that it wants and that like you're talking about is coming from the place that the of why it's so like stressed out and so like judgy, because it really does care more than almost anyone. It's just, you know, it always feels like it's the only one out here doing something, so it's like, you know.
Yeah, but I think as well that a lot of Virgos run into the issue of not asking for help because they think they're going to do a better job, and a lot of the times they can do a better job.
Mhm.
But I think maybe something for Virgo to learn as well is being able to accept help. Being able to see that other people can add to the quality of something as well, and they have their own role to play. And I think that can even help Virgo mellow out a little bit more, being like, "Hey, you know what? This task is for you. You got this." You know?
Mhm. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mercury retrograde in Virgo. Maybe these themes will come up. Just
Yeah, basically the message for that is don't stress out more than you have to. I'm totally gonna put that
yeah.
when I do the when I do like the timestamps. I'm just gonna put like the funniest quotes for him. People are gonna be like, "What? Why does he say that?" You're like, "Good." Dang. Apparently, people are. It's funny how when we talk about the mercurial signs, it gets people talking.
We all need helpers. Yeah, we
Yeah,
do.
we all
You
need
know?
little helpers that are cute little puppies that wear booties, and then they have like those like shoulder strap kind of like collar vest things that are sort of like backpacks, and they carry little waters and snacks for them as well as you. That's the type of helper you need. You need someone with snacks.
Oh my gosh. They're laughing in the comments.
Yeah, you know, it's what you gotta do.
Do you know what's funny though? Like I don't know if you get this, but because I would say like, I have a Virgo rising, right? And
Right.
then I have my Aries moon. So my Aries moon is in the eighth house. So obviously it's hidden. So that you can imagine just the difference, I feel. And it's not like I know you have the sun in the eighth house and everything,
And
but like the moon, obviously, the moon is so private and it's just so inner. Um, so I feel like a lot of the times in my life, I feel like when my Aries moon comes out, to me, it
mm,
seems really aggressive. It seems like really loud and like too much. And like earlier on, whenever I accidentally said the F word because I was going on a bit of like a tangent, a bit of a rant, right? My Aries moon, I feel like was coming out, right? It was coming out, and then I said that word, and then my Virgo energy instantly goes, "Oh no, I shouldn't have said that." Like that has been a huge battle for me all my life. It's like, oh no, I need to be proper. I need to be punctual. I need to do it right. I need to do it correct. There's just a lot of shoulds when it comes to Virgo energy, and a lot of having to like live up to our own expectations or even the expectations of others.
mm,
So I'm trying to like learn how to embrace other parts of me. If you think about the birth chart, that represents like the birth chart is the whole picture. It's
right.
not just like, oh, I'm a Virgo rising and I do this. You have to take it all into consideration. So I'm really learning a lot about how to have a healthy sense of like, okay, go on that rant, say it,
Yeah.
just be vocal about like an annoyance or if someone pissed
Let
you
them know
off.
how you feel.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, when you
astrology can
said, Aries moon in the 8th house, I wanted to make so many jokes about, like, the second that camera goes off, you're screaming at somebody.
be I'm screaming at somebody.
Yeah, well, I was
Just screaming at myself. I'm screaming at myself. What I would actually do, what I'll probably do after this session is like, I'll probably pick myself apart because the Virgo energy will go, oh my gosh, why did I say that? Why did I say it like that? And da 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 da. And then I'll get angry at myself, and I'm like, oh, that is what will happen.
oh, don't tell me that, because now I'm gonna put a random section that has nothing to do with what I title it as, "Hannah, look, criticize this section," and I'm gonna be the one talking.
Oh my god.
I'm probably not gonna put that much. That's what I
Jeez.
thought. But yeah, but anyways, did we discuss the trine between Virgo as well as the Tauresian retrograde, which I believe are the last two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, we did discuss the trine?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, sorry. The trine. Yeah, we briefly touched on Mercury retrograde to the trining Jupiter, and then with Uranus and everything as well. I think,
Mhm.
unless you have more that you wanted to add about that, or
No, not really. Other than it'll just add to the feeling of like instability. So just really like when we do have that retrograde time, don't add on to the excess stress that is already there because you're not like don't worry. Don't worry at all. The universe is gonna take care of all the worrying for you. I guarantee it. Especially oh man. Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started on that. That's gonna be a whole thing.
yeah. So that must be a big yeah. That's another few words for this summer of retrogrades. Everyone, just don't worry. Just as much as you want to worry, as much as you want to stress out about things, just don't. Just I know it's easier said than done because yeah, you're still gonna feel it probably, but just try your best and not worry.
Mhm.
Okay, it's all gonna work out in unexpected ways, ways that you can't really control.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that speaks to the trine with like Uranus and Taurus to begin with, because it's just like literally people are gonna be stressing out trying to do something new, and then they're gonna realize sticking and being stubborn to the old plan that they had was like what they should have been doing the whole time, you know? So that'll be pretty much be it. But yeah, in terms of like Uranus going retrograde in itself, it's going retrograde in now I guess the first one is Uranus, which will be Uranus retrograde in Taurus at 23 degrees. And to talk about what that means in terms of degrees, I have no idea. I forgot to look it up. But what it will do,
Uh, the degrees, sorry, I've got it here: 23 degrees to 19 degrees.
yeah, no, I know that much. I just don't know like the meaning behind it. Like I could talk about
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
I could talk about the numerological aspect of it because the only really things that like matter when you're dealing with degrees is understanding the decans, as well as the star behind it, as well as the numerological viewpoint. So it's like, you know, we're going from a number 5 to a number 1 basically, which is a lot of the very, if you think about the fifth house and the first house are the two very like individualistic signs. So it'll really kind of it's really just going to be like a reminder of like what are you individually stubborn at and like how do you really want to change that, because with Uranus retrograde it already hates Taurus, so when it goes retrograde it's basically like having to watch a dream that it already experienced happen again, so you can only imagine how bored Uranus really is. So with that being the case, it's kind of like touching on you really looking deep into how much time you didn't spend changing your life in pursuit of, probably just like guiltless pleasure, because that's what a lot of people are going to be doing like during the summer, just chasing guiltless pleasure, like focusing on nostalgia. Not to say that it isn't like well deserved, especially what like with everyone like kind of went through regards to the pandemic and just not being able to do anything. But like at the same time, it's like, guiltless pleasure produces guilt at the end of the day, because while the pain of discipline may weigh ounces, the pain of regret is immeasurable.
Mm.
And yeah, I know I'm speaking kind of broad here, but such is life. And also, damn, I forgot that Chiron only moves. I forgot that Chiron doesn't move that fast, which I hate because it's on my moon right now and I want it to move.
What degrees is your moon?
Like 16, 14.
16. Mm.
Yeah, 16 degrees, 14 minutes. Yeah, it angles something cool, which I like. Sorry, I'm distracted by the comments.
So with Uranus retrograde, so I have like some sort of practical themes that I just took note of just to do with Uranus being in Taurus in general. If we think about how it's brought themes up to do with financial innovation, breaking self-worth patterns, security disruptions,
Inspiration.
unique. Sorry?
Financial. Oh, I didn't even think about it like that. That's cool.
Yeah, financial innovation. Yeah, and expressing our unique talents, our unique gifts. And then I think this is something that's quite interesting because you just said there about guiltless pleasure. And I feel as though Uranus in Taurus has been looking at detaching from greed, detaching from possessiveness or gluttony or self-indulgence. So I think it's interesting to think about Jupiter, of course, being in Taurus, because that can, of course, amplify these themes, to do with like, oh, I want to have more, I want to obtain more. But the Uranus part of it is also looking at more of that detached feel, or being able to come up with those questions, questioning ourselves, like, well, okay, well, like, what are your intentions to do with the things that you really want here? Have you really thought this through? Be an observer. But in general, yeah, with Uranus retrograde as well, maybe it will get us revisiting these types of ideas, and perhaps even questioning, what is the stability of our choices? What is the stability of our financial habits? How we spend our money, how we save. And I think especially with Pluto being retrograde as well in Capricorn, due to all the collective stuff that's happening, with financial crisis and the markets, and then you were saying about the housing situation,
the markups and the markdowns, and the
yeah. So basically Uranus and Taurus, I think it's highlighting then your personal part of it in a way, because Taurus is more about your personal self-worth and value, etc. But then still with Uranus being a generational planet, I think just overall collectively looking at, okay, well, what can we revisit then? What can we revisit when it comes to our personal gains and how we spend and how we earn, and just planning for the future a bit. And Jupiter also then being in Taurus is looking at that slow and steady build, that slow and steady growth, and then planning for the future in that more consistent way. And I think that is a big, because you were saying there, it's making me think it is a big theme, to refrain from all that chaos, that mess, and to refrain from anything that's too like coming from a place of feeling stuck or filling a void, right? That's what's coming to my mind. It's like, oh, I want all that stuff, because underneath the surface you're filling a void. You're trying to reach something that you don't have, because it's like you're trying to fill something within yourself but actually can't be achieved externally, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like Jupiter and Uranus retrograde will highlight these themes quite strongly. And then also another point that I want to make with this is, what I find interesting about Jupiter first entering Taurus, of course, is we know there was the grand fixed cross, we know there were T-squares, etc. But of course, with the North Node being in Taurus as well, and with the North Node being in Taurus, that has actually been making a square to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn too. Yes, okay, sure, it's not by sign, but when you look at the degrees, that the square, I think, is quite close in that way. So I would say that this really has been a big time period of things just not going according to plan for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people are losing their patience. Yeah, just so much, like, when's it going to move? When's it going to change? And I just think that what's important to keep in mind with this is, yes, in astrology, things do eventually move, things do eventually turn. But maybe at the same time with the retrogrades, it's an opportunity to revisit your strategies, revisit your foundations, revisit your structures. Maybe going back to the Virgo energy with Mercury retrograde in Virgo, maybe there's something small that maybe you haven't thought of yet that can be changed. And going back to the trine to Jupiter, that small change that you try out can go a long way. It can make huge differences in your life. So yeah,
tip the scales.
You never know. You never know. So yeah, it should be interesting. I think it's going to be one summer. Yeah, interesting.
That's weird. But yeah, no, I mean, this kind of just brings up the point that I was mentioning earlier in regards to like really using the retrograde to identify what has the best leverage for you and what you really want to experience. Because what a lot of people say, and like this is like the perfect time to do it, is there's like the old Abe Lincoln quote, which is, if I were to spend 8 hours chopping wood, I would spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. And what he means by that is, think about it, stupid. don't be stupid and actually have a plan that'll work. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's just pretty much that's like what all retrogrades really are. Like the universe isn't expecting you to do anything per se, but what it is hoping that you do is that you actually, if you want to use it. I'm sorry, this comment's just fucking weird. But yeah. But point being is like really just like take the time to think about what you're doing. That's what all the retrogrades are about. And I think we pretty
Mm.
much covered it with Uranus retrograde, which is just, like financial instability, being unsure about your plans, and
Mhm.
like really, really and like one thing I want to like clarify with that is being unsure about your plans or your plans, like really being unstable in terms of what you really want to work on. That's not always the baddest thing because like
Mm.
a lot of people think about it as like, oh, it worked out horribly. But what if like
Mm.
out of nowhere after working horribly for so long, it worked out way better than you could ever imagine? Like
Yeah.
that happens too. Change is like, that's why you gotta move away from the frame of like good versus bad. Because it's just like you could have the most amazing thing happen out of nowhere and instantaneously change your life, which does happen. It really does. That's how I started doing this. Magical things falling out of the sky that says you don't have to do anything except astrology. And I said, for real, I'm gonna take that opportunity. And
Mm.
here I am. A lot of crap has happened along the way, but it doesn't mean that it can't flip back and basically be like, yay, magic falls from the sky. Because that's what Uranus does. Like Uranus really, like it does move slow. However, it really can change your life much more than you can possibly imagine. And like people don't really like recognize that, which I think is interesting. Like people always think that change is bad, but it's not like it's not necessarily bad. It's just change that can't be stifled, if that makes any sense. Like it's going
Yeah.
to happen. Pluto will give you time. Uranus will not. Well, I mean, it might now with it being in Taurus, but that's another.
Yeah. And yeah, it's so true because I do also think of Uranus as it can improve your life. It can, if you think about even connected to Aquarius, Aquarius is about, betterment
Mhm.
for all, perhaps more so, but still improvement, betterment. So Uranus there in Taurus, that's so true. And it makes me think of there was this funny video that I watched, and it was to do with like how manifestation works in a
Mhm.
way. And so basically, the whole part of it was so the girl was being offered car keys and she was asking for a house, right? So she's like, I want a house, I want a house. And the guide, right, or source, right, was offering her car keys. And she's like, no, I don't want car keys. I want a house. Like, you're not listening to me. He goes, no, but take the car keys. And then the girl goes, no, I don't want to, screw this. I'm going to go buy a house, or I'm going to go get a house myself. I'm done with you, kind of thing. But then the source said, well, actually, the keys would have gotten you a car, and then that car would have set you up, with a date, and then the person that you're on a date with, you and them are going to get a house together in the future. And that just kind of shows how unexpectedly things actually do work, and how often it's the things that we don't see that can be working in our favor. And I think that's such a Uranus thing, like you were saying so well. It's like things can turn around in a flash, in a heartbeat for you with Uranus energy. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there with that comment, Joe.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting because like, has Uranus conjuncted Jupiter yet?
Has Uranus what, sorry?
Conjuncted Jupiter yet?
No, I think that's going to be sometime next year. I forget the date, but there will be a conjunction between Uranus and Jupiter. Yeah, toward, I think it's like toward like April May time, because Jupiter will move into Gemini in May 2024. Yeah.
Oh, that'll probably be for like a week then, because like the Jupiter orb is just so huge, but that direct conjunction is going to be crazy. So yeah, I probably expect some lives to change then. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something to think about. Yeah, because yeah, that could actually be quite literally what you're touching on. A turn of events, and
Mm,
things could turn in your favor because of the Jupiter energy. Of course, I haven't looked at the aspects, what's going on around that time exactly. Are
probably.
there many squares. I don't know. But then I suppose, you know what, as well, like you were sort of touching on, I think even when it comes to squares and crosses and these harder aspects, through challenge, you learn so much.
Mm.
Do you know what? I'm actually really freaking grateful for the past few months. Like things have been really difficult, and I know I'm sure things have been difficult for a lot of people, but drawing from my own experience, things have been challenging and difficult. But in a way, like I'm glad that things have been the way they have been, because I've been able to learn so much about my old ways of doing things and what I can change and what I can improve upon and what I took for granted, etc. And then the funny thing about it too, what I find really fascinating is like, you how do I explain this? You could be on a lot, you could be along a certain path, right? And you may get to the end of that path and you may think, oh, well, that didn't work out. But actually, that path itself brought so many like interesting ideas and things to work with and ways to grow. And those things within themselves can be used for the next path or the next stage, or they can give you that inspiration, that idea to move on to bigger and better things later on. Like, I feel like I feel like this is what I'm learning in my life so much recently. It's just the importance of taking the good with the bad. Well, yeah, you were saying it's like, how do you label those things? But it's experience, right? Looking at it as this is an experience. And yes, I know, I'm not going to generalize it and say 100% or to be black and white about it, because I do also understand that there are serious, hideous things that happen to people. And you know what I mean? Like, yes, things can you can learn from them, but also I think it's important to keep in mind the emotions and the feelings tied to those experiences. If it is that you've been through something really terrifying and horrible in your life, yes, give space for those emotions and those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But the point being, for me, I'm really grateful for the past few months, in that I was able to, oh, I don't want to say the word awaken. I was able to recognize patterns and habits and things that I was doing that were actually blocking me and limiting me. And I think, especially with the lunar eclipse that we experienced in Scorpio a while back,
Oh
my
man.
gosh, that was hard.
Yeah.
Frig, that was hard. I hate every second of it.
Mm.
But in hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're able to look back and you're like, oh, like if it wasn't for that thing, I wouldn't be here. You know, it's just, yeah.
Profound.
Uranus, that's Uranus. Like that is Uranus, isn't it? Like Uranus is that type of energy. You don't know what to expect. You go through it and then you reflect on it later on and you're like, holy crap.
That was crazy. That was
Ah,
crazy.
yeah.
You changed your life for the better or changed it for the worst? Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows?
Who knows?
That's what that is. But I mean, I think we covered. I want the bird sounds back. Come back, birds. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think that pretty much covers it in terms of Uranus. So I guess the final planet, Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Mm.
Jupiter.
Yeah, so Jupiter is retrograding at 15 degrees away to 5 degrees of Taurus on the dates of September 4th through damn near New Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah, December 30th. That's how I feel about retrogrades. But this one's gonna be different with all the Martian influences. Anyways, yeah, Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. Like, I feel like that's really just gonna expand on all the instabilities that we've kind of been experiencing, not only with Uranus and Taurus, but also with the North Node. So whatever you've been like, whatever slow, stubborn like grind that like the North Node is pushing you through, that's gonna be reflected because it's gonna be, all that's happening while the North Node is in Aries. So when things kind of go from pushing forward via, however you want to push things forward, like extremely quickly based off all of the internal development that you did with the house that you have Aries in while Jupiter was in Aries. This energy of just like being able to just push forward while like looking back at all that hard, stubborn work you did is, I really think it's going to like fuel a lot of that Martian strength, a lot more than people have. However, that is highly dependent on if you did the internal work in regards to Jupiter and Jupiter and Aries while Jupiter and Taurus. Because like whatever project like you started, because like this is all like a big like wibbly wibbly bloop bloop from the universe, all the way from like all the way back from like early 2022, whatever like project like people started during that time. It really is going to be profound in terms of like the reflection of all that work you put in over just like the years and years and years of work. And I think that's going to be a very interesting time in regards to, hey, the birds that I asked for came.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's going to be so interesting while people are just like basically just like dashing forward, like really giving that like harsh look and harsh focus on like their relationships and who they let into their circle versus who they don't. And I think that's going to be just like very interesting. I think during that time we're going to see a lot of Geminis like change up just like who they're just going to like willy-nilly let into their life and who they're going to like focus on and move forward in. Like it's just going to be such a unique experience that is like it's going to kind of like honestly I feel like it's going to be like that I mean I don't know how it is in like over in like Britain or Northern Ireland or whatever in regards to like how much school you do, but I think it's going to be like that like last month of like senior year in like high school or whatever the hell you call the equivalent of high school, in regards to like wow we're like feeling like really nostalgic, but it's like life is about to move forward and never be the same again because it's just like it's like that feeling of like yeah, like you're a brash teenager, but like that shell that's giving you that comfortability, aka the systems and structure systems that like society forces you through, is going to be ripped away, and it's like, well, you're an adult now, Yeah, I think it's going to be like very similar to that feeling of where it's just like things are exciting and scary and about to get very, very real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like now you have to go and live out in the big bad world kind of thing. Deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, to put it simply.
Yeah. And of course there'd be a lot of wisdom that can be gained from Jupiter retrograde every year. A lot of wisdom to do with
Wait, is Jupiter retrograde every year? I mean, like I'm pretty sure it is, but
pretty sure.
I know Saturn retrograde every year.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I would need to go into my little notes to double check, but yeah. So I think with this time around, a lot of wisdom to do with our inner core and our self-worth. We throw in Venus, which is the dispositor of Jupiter, Venus being in Leo, and then with the square as well to Jupiter. I mean, that's going to be, I think, confronting is the word, like this confronting ourselves, confronting the ego, confronting our desires, confronting our pleasures, confronting commitment, loyalty, like who are you loyal to? Are you loyal to particular people? Are you loyal to yourself? What does that look like for you? Yeah, I think Jupiter and Taurus, already I'm feeling it in terms of just keeping consistent at something instead of like the Jupiter in Aries thing of I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to expect results immediately, or I want to get through this and just make it happen right now. But Jupiter and Taurus is teaching us such valuable lessons to do with just slowing down the process, keeping that consistency as well, but also making time for rest, making time for a little bit of relaxation. And then also looking at those building blocks, the building blocks to do with our resources, our finances, all the Taurus themes, thinking about those beginning stages even of our security. But the Jupiter in Taurus energy it's more so about looking at the bigger picture, looking into the future, looking at, using great foresight, I think. Yeah, and talents and gifts as well to do with Taurus. It's tied to our talents and our gifts. So if we think about Uranus being in Taurus the way it has been, looking at, like I was saying earlier, with unique talents, unique skills coming up a lot. Everyone's trying to find like their unique thing or their niche or whatever. Jupiter then in Taurus is coming along that same path, and it's giving us an opportunity to then see, right, okay, go and like make something of it, or it's more about, okay, expand with it. But of course, Jupiter retrograde, of course, bring it back to the retrograde. It is more about, okay, like, let me sit with this. And then eventually it will turn direct. And the new year should be interesting, 2024. We'll have Uranus a few weeks in January retrograde, and then it will turn direct, and then we'll be in that little phase again where all the planets are moving, they're direct again. But that should be interesting with Jupiter then direct, and then maybe, hopefully many of us will have learned mighty valuable lessons to do with our security and our worth and our egos and romance and love and all these things we've been talking about today, and we'll be able to move forward with greater confidence and assurance. And then also, of course, Pluto will re-enter Aquarius January 2024, and hopefully this time, I know it's also about expect the unexpected when it comes to Aquarius. And I know it's like you can't exactly pinpoint it. Things could change so rapidly, but who freaking knows? Maybe by us really straightening a few things up over 2023, maybe learning certain lessons that we didn't learn when Pluto first entered Aquarius. Maybe whenever it does re-enter Aquarius, we're going to be more equipped. Hopefully. I freaking hope I am. Mm-hmm. I hope so. But then again, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, like you were saying, it could be like, a change could happen, and that could also be that spark, that could be that new thing, that could be that amazing opportunity that you didn't necessarily plan for, and may not be what you wanted, but it could work out really, really well. So, yeah.
Perhaps. Side question: did you do anything fun for New Year's last year, or I guess the Gregorian New Year's?
Did I do anything fun? No, I don't do anything fun on New Year's. No, I go to bed.
Did you have a fun dream?
Did I have a fun dream on New Year's?
Yeah.
Like a sleep dream, or like a dream of something to do dream?
Well, both, honestly.
No, why do you ask? Why did you?
No. I did something crazy on New Year's.
What did you do?
Oh, I rented tuxedos and crashed black tie events with my friends.
You what?
Yeah, we rented like tuxedos, and then we went to like black tie events like in the city, and we just crashed them because we were well dressed.
You crashed. What events did you crash? Sorry.
Black tie events.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the outcome?
We got a lot of free drinks and free food, and we actually ended up crashing a wedding, which was fun. Like, yeah, like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We didn't know it was a wedding at first, but we were like, "Oh, this is name tags on these tables," and they didn't even have champagne, which was dumb. So we had to get like other mixed drinks, and then we got champagne somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, it was a good time. We got tuxedos. We showed up at like a perfect time because we basically showed up where it was like a bunch of people like on the dance floor, and it was still that like little 5-minute awkward period where no one was dancing. So I walked up and I took my date because we got dates to sell the story, and then yeah, you gotta have a date to sell the story.
Oh, did you? So how you hired a date? You paid them?
No, I didn't pay a date. I just got a date.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't sure you were hiring people to go hire. No. I don't know the details.
Yeah. But so yeah, we basically like pulled up on it, and then we showed up at the point where like people weren't exactly dancing yet. So then like I pulled my date's arm and I was like, all right, we're dancing. And we were like the first ones on the dance floor to really be like people were standing there, but they weren't dancing. And then they played the Dancing Queen. And once they played the Dancing Queen, it was over. I was my goal at that point, once I figured out it was a wedding, was to dance with the grooms, or the groom or the wife's, whatever the matriarch of one of the families was. And I was just, okay, this is a lady wearing an emerald dress with a large amount of jewels. I need to dance with her. And I did. And then people were like, and that's when people started realizing that they had no idea who I was. Because like I was really making a scene. Like I'm like no joke, I am in this wedding video because I was the first one dancing, and obviously the photographer's like got to capture the most interesting thing. And like where we realized we messed up was like when the wedding photographer was like right on us.
Oh my goodness! Did you get thrown out?
No, we left before that happened, and then we ended up hanging out at the hotel bar all night, and we were just like cracking jokes.
Sorry, was this a different night to the other thing you were talking about? The wedding? Was it the same night?
This is New Year's Eve. Same night.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Something to do.
Wow.
You gotta have fun with it, you know?
That sounds so chaotic.
It really wasn't as
So
chaotic as
true.
you think. Like, it was fun, but it was like we were like, in reality, we were only at, like, the wedding part for, like, 45 minutes because everybody started sitting down at their name tag tables. We were like, "Let's stop by the pastry desk and get out of here."
Oh my goodness. Well, I certainly have not spent New Year's like that before. Like my New Year's are probably really boring. I don't really
And that's
go
what I'm
out.
saying. You gotta use the energies of the planets to have a wild experience.
Mm. So this year it's like try, seeing as most of the planets will be direct on New Year's, go
Yeah,
crazy.
it'll be
Oh
fun.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this year, I wanna do the same thing, but I wanna make it international this time.
Okay. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna do like a live on YouTube?
Oh, no, 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 I have no idea. I wanna find, like, a similar, like, black tie event, but at, like, say, like, I fly to, like, the Bahamas or something, and, like, I just
Mm,
find, like, some type of corporate event, and we just crash it again.
mm. So with having an Aries moon, how would you say you experience it in simple terms or in long
And
terms, whatever?
how I experience, like, the Aries moon in simple terms and how I experience the Aries moon in that specific situation.
Just in general.
Oh, in general, I'd say I experience it in, like, a very, like, I mean, it's in my 5th house, so it's, like, extremely ego-based, for lack of a better term. So it's
Mm,
very, like, everything I do needs to be the most. I have to be, like, the leader. I have to have, like, unlimited energy. I tend to be, like, especially with, like, the Gemini natures, I tend to be quite dominating in conversation. I've worked a lot on that. I try not to, like, overpower people too much. That used to be a big thing. And then,
mm,
really just, like, saying, like, the first thing that comes to my mind and being unfiltered way too much.
mm.
But on the positive aspect, it's basically your energy levels stem from passion and desire. So it's like,
Yep.
as long as you're doing something you like, you just don't get tired. Or
Yeah.
you literally work till you go, "Ugh," you know?
Mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's how I experience it, at least. Very, very, a lot of, like, physicality, like, doing things that are, like, physically strenuous and, like, making a scene out of it just because it's fun. Stuff like that.
I feel as though the fun part for you comes in because of the Gemini, because you have that
Yeah.
Gemini energy as well. Yeah. Yeah, and I relate to you in that you could just do the thing for ages and ages,
Yeah.
and then you're not even going to tire from it. And that's something I've had to even just pay attention to. I mean, I could even work until I'm really hungry or I'm really overtired, and then I get cranky and moody and stuff. So yeah, I think that is a big part of it. But trying to know what your limits are.
Yeah, speaking of
Right.
fun, I'm just
You
doing this
guys.
for fun. Sorry, I wouldn't.
Oh, jeez.
But, damn, what was I gonna say? Um, the Aries something about the Aries moon. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Well, my with my Aries moon, it's in the eighth house. So I like my the way I experience it is that it's yeah, you can maybe imagine it is like it's a lot. It can be a lot. The emotions tied to it are very, very strong. Um and I've had to really learn to work on those things. Yeah, and as well, I think a big part of what I've been trying to learn is being more assertive, or like I think I was sort of touching on that earlier. It's integrating the parts of myself that are assertive, or the parts of myself that can say this is what I want. And because of the seventh house Pisces energy, that can highlight how I could be quite like submissive, or kind of go with the flow, or take responsibility for other people's like emotions and feelings and stuff. But my moon in Aries is in the eighth house, is teaching me to integrate the parts of myself that can separate and see myself as a self. Yeah.
No, I feel that. For anybody else that wants to get, like, a quick little breakdown on their actual alignment, drop you someone to send it in the comment while we're talking
Mm,
about it. And then if you wanna ask a question about the actual retrograde season that we just integrated, feel free to
mm.
ask. But anyways, back to your point about the Aries moon, like, what did you say about were you talking about, like, it being in the 8th house in regards to, like, being, like, more, submissive or, like, drawn back in your Ariesness, or in other words, taking, like, selective, like, precautions when you're exerting that energy, or did you mean it in a sense of like the eighth house kind of like holds it back in a sense of like it really needs to be something deeply triggering for you to like have that Aries like smack you in the face in this?
Yeah, a bit of both. Yeah, because the submissive kind of part of it more so I think is to do with the seventh house Pisces. But then yeah, with the eighth house part of it, there is a lot underneath the surface for me that I keep in that I don't communicate or express or share. So yeah, I'm not your typical, like you were saying there about with your Aries moon in terms of being the leader, or you were saying the story about your New Year's, etc., right? And just how fun and crazy that sounds, right? To me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's
But
like
me,
the fifth house nature of it, of where like it needs to be a shebang.
it's more adventurous, more risk taking in the fifth house. But for mine in the eighth house, yeah, it's a lot more cautious and reserved. And I'm typically not going to push past and go, oh, I'm going to take the lead here. And I'm also going to be quite cautious of, what I say. And in terms of the filter thing, I don't feel like I do have a filter, because I try to be somewhat controlled in terms of the words I share. And I think that's also because I have Saturn conjunct Mercury in my chart.
Wait, what house?
In the sixth. So I'm an Aquarius, Sun, Mercury, and Saturn in the sixth.
Damn, that's too much Virgo.
Thanks.
Sorry, it's just like I don't know. I didn't know how sixth house dominant your chart was.
Yeah. What? My Aries moon is starting to come out here. Why is everyone so mean about the sixth house? Can people just leave the sixth house alone, please? Like, there's nothing wrong. Like, everyone says it's such a bad house, and people feel sorry for it, or like, oh my gosh, sixth house. I'm chilling. Like, I'm chilling, okay?
Yeah. No, I feel that.
I'm just goofing around.
No, I feel it. But before we get to the whatchamacallit, when we get to like all the comments and stuff, I will say this about the sixth house.
Yeah.
The sixth house correlates to a lot of like the intestinal tract and like stuff, and like more like physical and like medical astrology. And like I really think like a lot of like what you can learn from the sixth house energy is truly understanding the benefit of what like proper dieting is, because I think people underestimate that how many neurons you actually have in your actual gut, and how having like a proper diet can really like foods create moods. And the reason for that is a healthy diet helps with the proper release, regulation, and creation of actual serotonin. And I think what that actually does is it kind of like it leads into like proper dieting, and actually getting like the foods that have like high like 5-HTP, which is the precursor for what creates serotonin in your body, and like really focusing on that like healthy like whole food diet can like go through miles, which is like talks about more like the softer, like more comforting side of Virgo, which is leads back into the old adage of foods create moods. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I sixth stuff, when I do reflect on it more, there have been certain diet situations that have happened throughout my life that perhaps were not the best for me, which I'm not going to get into, my own kind of personal struggles with the sixth house energy. So it's interesting, my kind of response is like, leave it alone. But actually, when I do reflect, there are challenges that I've experienced, but at the same time, there's a lot of really great things from having all that sixth house energy. And I think a lot of it is to do with really understanding the body. I think that was perhaps what you were kind of touching on. But you know what I find quite interesting about my chart? I don't mean to go off on a tangent.
Go for it. Aries moon.
Yeah, I know. Aries moons, we just love to talk about ourselves. Oh.
I love that. Interesting motherfucker in the world.
So here, this is what I find really interesting about my chart, my unique chart, right? So, the way the 12th house can be seen as like in your mother's womb, and then with the the first house can look at, so planets near the first house can look at the ways in which you're born, right? So it's almost like you're coming into the world, quite literally into the world, right? So I have Chiron and Leo in the 12th house, right?
Oh, okay.
Leo rules the heart, of course, okay? And then Chiron is the wound, right? The wounded healer. And then Jupiter is conjunct my ascendant, and Jupiter is to do with like blessings, right? Blessings, prayer, religion, all that stuff, right? But the way so my birth was, I was born with 2 holes in my heart, right? Wound, heart.
Oh, like
And,
real
and then real holes, like 2 holes in my heart. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I was
crazy.
born. So, and then I was obviously born, and the doctors realized that there was an issue. My parents are very religious, okay? And so what they did is they prayed for me, and they took the very first house that I ever visited was a pastor's house.
Oh, wow.
So religion. So I just find like astrology is so crazy in terms of how accurate it can be in terms of rulerships. So
Yeah, really.
yeah, and then even if I circle that back to the 6th house energy, right, to do with health, I've got Saturn there in the 6th house. Yeah, that suggests that there were certain health issues, especially earlier on in my life. But I think my Saturn return has given me so much perspective about health, and maybe that's why I'm coming from a place now of like, yeah, the 6th house, like it can be really, really great. Maybe back then I wouldn't have said, you know what I mean? I would have been like, oh, this sucks. Oh, my diet sucks. Ah, I'm always exercising and I hate my body and all these horrible things. But actually, there's a lot of growth that has developed. But I just find it interesting in terms of my own chart and how things have aligned. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting.
Oh,
yeah, what I kind of got from having, I mean, we'll get to the comments in after this, but what I found interesting from that is just the fact that like having Leo in the 12th house, it's like no wonder you're like have gained some type of scene and popularity just through like more of like esoteric studies such as like astrology and spirituality and stuff like that.
Yeah, I never really saw that as like a core connection. What about you? Do you see, or do you have any like profound patterns or accuracies in your chart that are just like so on point?
Yeah, I mean, like I have Venus in a natural sign and a natural house, which makes like making friends and like making connections like the easiest thing in the world to me. And like people always like use me as in like social settings as like the one that can like create and lead conversation and like get like people who are anxious talking about something that they're like interested in. And like so it's like, long story short, it's like when you have like conjunctions like that, like those are your superpowers. So it's like my superpower is like I know how to, I can like literally be a social butterfly at any point in time if I so choose. So that's something that's interesting, as well as having like I have Jupiter and Pisces in the 4th house. So it's and it's like also like very close to my south node. So I'm like abundantly lucky. Like people always call me like one of like the most luckiest people in the world. And like yeah, it is, but like you know, my dumb ass goes through a lot of bullshit too, just due to like Pluto in the 1st house. But other than that, I think that's about like the only 2 like more superpower things in my chart. I have Uranus and Neptune in my 3rd house, so it's like talking about stuff like this is the easiest thing in the world. And yeah, and they're both in Aquarius, so it's like I can like I can talk about like what I find fun about that is like I can talk about nonsense with the utmost confidence and like literally like do that. And like the Aries moon and like the Gemini, the way that charges that up is I can do it so strongly that I can know that I'm wrong with what I'm saying. I feel bad for even questioning the fact that I could be wrong, and then tell you that I was wrong, and then make you feel bad about wasting my time. Like I can do that, but then I would get mad at you, but also all that energy of convincing you of why I'm wrong for doing X, Y, and Z. And I could just like you, and then go eat like a burger or something, and then like we'll go have fun after that.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be laughing so much.
You laugh. It's hilarious. I find it doing it. I'll, like, if I'm ever doing something like that, I'll completely detach like from like myself saying that and like go in like a little light body and like literally laugh at myself and be like, look at that guy.
was like the Gemini and the Aquarius combination. That's terrible.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
a lot of it's a weird existence, but I mean, I'm sure you understand.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I once got told uh because of course, like I said, I'm an Aquarius with my Mercury there,
Mm,
so I feel like there's some kind of parallels and similarities there with you saying about your Aquarius energy in the third with Uranus and Neptune. But
yeah,
I once got told by someone that that there's too much going on in my head. You know, it's too much. Seems like there's too much going on in there, and I'm like, yeah, it's fun. Like it's
yeah. Like, why not?
fun.
It doesn't seem like it's awful enough. At least, why not? I mean, like, that's the whole thing about like talking about Saturn and Neptune retrograde. Like, there's like that feeling in the air of like there's no like collective harmony amongst society. So a lot of people are taking it from the route of nothing means anything anymore. So it's like that's where people are even more open to things like that of like, well, why not?
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, but let's not get distracted from. I think some of the people in the comments like listed a bunch of their stuff. Oh wow, that's far back. Dang, we really went on a tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um.
the first one is
Uh.
Sun, Pisces, Moon, and Rising. Wait, what? Sun, Pisces, Moon. Oh, Rising Virgo. Okay, well that's something.
Oh, someone says I'm a rising Virgo too. I feel your pain.
Yeah,
Jupiter and Neptune and Capricorn. Okay.
that's crazy. All right, let's start with the first one. So you can definitely handle the Virgo rising aspect. I know you have a good grasp on that. And then I guess for Sun and Moon and Pisces, that's like you're just mad, like wishy-washy and overwhelmed by emotion. And then I feel like the Virgo ascendant, like while it keeps that in balance, it does not help at all.
Wait, so are we just reading them and kind of going by the combos
Yeah,
that are
just
being
give
presented?
it like a quick read. I don't know. That's what we were doing with our Sun, Moon, Ascendant. So I just opened it up to the chat.
Um, the Gemini Sun, Virgo Moon, Capricorn rising is quite interesting.
Yeah, what do you think
Um,
about that?
so Capricorn rising, the Virgo Moon. If I was to think of the whole sign,
Mhm.
ninth house, sixth house. Um, yeah, like I would say yes. Okay, the whole typical thing with Capricorn rising of being very ambitious. Long. You think about the long term,
Mhm.
and also you can be very reserved, and you think more about what is useful, what is actually practical, what has substance in your life. And then with the Virgo moon energy as well being there in the ninth house, it's like yes, your beliefs and your teachings and your higher message are going to be very much about okay, accuracy and details. It's more about sharing a message that is like coming from a place of like correctness or just I just feel like you may be very practical minded when it comes to your beliefs, and at the same time with your Gemini sun coming into the mix, there's a little bit of a little bit of chaos there or like just try not to take yourself super seriously either and just trying to have a bit of playfulness, a bit of fun, and maybe your job as well really does require a lot of the whole usual stuff to do with Gemini, like marketing, advertising, researching, writing, communications. Maybe you fluctuate when it comes to your jobs, like you change up your jobs quite a bit, or you become restless and patient. And maybe that can even be a little bit frustrating for your Capricorn energy because it's like you're trying to have something that is like more consistent in your life. But maybe you also like that kind of that freedom. Maybe you need a bit of freedom in your life in that way. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was a bit of a tangent.
No, no, no. I mean, that was perfect. But
Yeah.
to sum it up, I would basically call that like great planning and not so great execution. Like, because it's like like Virgo moon, if the Gemini sun doesn't get you off your path, the Virgo moon will, and then the feeling that being a Capricorn rising gives you like is what'll like keep you on like like the large general path. But it's just like in terms of like what your actual like internal push and pull is, it's just a lot of mental chatter, which is definitely, you definitely are fully capable of overcoming if you haven't already for like
Mm.
goal.
Mm.
What I think people like neglect about like the rising sign a lot is like that's like the energy that like you feel like you should be doing things this way, not as much you actually doing things this way. You know, because it's like your aura, your space. It's like what you're going to evolve into, but not necessarily what you do. You know?
Mm. I suppose as well, like the rising sign is often what was reinforced upon you. You know, people said you are this, you are that. You know, it's like
Yeah, just
not
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like not necessarily directly, but it's almost like that's the message that you received. So for me, for example, the Virgo rising, the message that I received growing up was I need to be punctual. I need to perform really well in school. I need to get really good grades. I need to keep myself in the straight and narrow. You know, I need to keep myself out of trouble. You know, I received those types of messages. But then at the same time, you know, it is also about your life path and your identity to an extent too. And you know, I think it's still a part of you, right? With the rising sign, it's still a big part of you and your personality.
Mm-hmm. Are you
But
a
there's other parts. Sorry.
Are you a Gemini midheaven?
Yeah, yeah.
Someone got you in the comments. They said, "So Hannah, you're a Gemini midheaven." Hey,
Yeah,
what are you trying to
yeah.
say?
Did you already know that, Scotty? Did you know I already had a Gemini midheaven, or did you guess?
I mean, I'm sure they can. Anyone with mild astrology knowledge can extrapolate that based off of your ascendant.
Oh yeah. Duh.
I
So
mean,
yes, my Gemini midheaven.
yeah, roasted. Mm,
Oh my gosh, seriously.
yeah,
Oh, is anybody other comment?
yeah, a lot of.
Yeah, as a Virgo rising, and you're yeah.
Oh yeah, and don't forget the lame YouTube reminder of like and share the video.
Of course, yeah, definitely make sure to like the video if you
Yeah.
enjoyed this live stream today. Yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. You know, it's been fun to break down the different retrogrades. And at the same time, it's been nice to sort of go on a bit of a ramble and to kind of just go back and forth when it comes to other astrology related things.
Mm-hmm.
It's good that we kept it till the end as well. We didn't get, I don't think we went too off the beaten path, if you know what I mean.
Very organized. I think it was great.
Yeah, it was well organized, definitely. Yeah.
But to completely bash through that layer of organization since we got past it, what do you think about Uranus in Gemini? While there's like a bunch of like Saturn and Neptune and Aries. I don't know about you, but that screams like war. And I'm just like, no.
Mm.
Like
Pluto will be in Aquarius at that time as well, won't it then, for its full cycle?
I think that doesn't help at all. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we look back to Pluto being in Aquarius, what was it? What was you were saying? Dates like 1700s. So I need to think. I need to.
Yeah, it would
look
be
it up.
like it would be the like 80s where it was definitely in Aquarius.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like the only thing that I really know that was going on across the way was like the East India Trading Company was popping back then. They were slanging tea like there was no tomorrow. And then whatchamacallit?
So yeah, sure, okay. Perhaps it can point towards sorry, the connection. I didn't mean to talk over you, Joe. Sorry.
Nah, you're good. You're back now. But yeah, and then like in the States, people were just like rambling on about like which currency they should use because there was like the Articles of Confederation, the Continental Dollar, and like all this crap. And yeah, and then like like yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, hopefully it's not a bunch of birth of a nation crap. That would be annoying. I don't want to live through that. That sounds irritating.
But then I'm thinking about other things, right? So yes, there was the War of Independence that happened, right? And yes,
Yeah.
war, etc. Yes, okay. But I also think, pretty sure when Pluto was last in Aquarius, the Industrial Revolution, we saw. So apparently, so I studied this kind of mini like university course. So it was only like 6 months or so, and in the course there was a module called the Future of Work, and the whole point of it was to learn about the future of work. Haha, of course. So
you were enrolled in this, not creating the course, right?
I wasn't involved in creating the course. I was the student.
Okay.
I was taking the course. Yes, yes. So the whole thing that we learned about was the fourth industrial revolution and how, you know, that is coming to be right now. And we connect that in with AI, robots, and things that basically like virtual assistants. We're even seeing, you know, cars that are moving automatically now without anybody in them and actually picking up people, which I thought was crazy. I saw that the other day. But the whole thing with the fourth industrial revolution, you can I think it's interesting to think about when we compare that back to when Pluto was last in Aquarius with the previous industrial revolution. So we may see more of these technological advancements, but then at the same time, I think a lot is going to come up to do with morality and ethics. Yeah, and then I think I mentioned this in the live that I did with Purnell, but it was the thing. So I saw an interesting video to do with in the Netherlands. They were getting these chips in their hands in here to pay for things. So yeah, and Purnell actually did say, because he was like, the hands, you know, Gemini, the hands. I'm like, yeah. So we, you know, who knows? I think that also opens up that whole line of morality again. Like, you know, is it ethical to put chips in your hands to pay for things? And I think in general, we're just going to see more and more of these conversations open up. And I think in general, the conversation of AI is going to come up. And I'm pretty sure I was watching this podcast the other day about there was this expert who was talking all about AI and how AI is now it has the intelligence to teach humans or something like that. I think.
I don't know about all that.
I think that was how it was worded. I could be wrong, but the whole point being with the Uranus energy going into Gemini, this and Pluto, of course, being in Aquarius too, it's going to just, I think it's going to open up more of these experiences for people. That's something that I noticed with it. There was something else that will come to me in a minute. There was another thing that I thought of, but I forget what it was. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I think people like I have a lot of people like that are like pretty close friends in like the tech space, and like so it's like everything they're telling me about like AI and stuff is like it's not like people are getting like so overwhelmed by the concept of like it being an artificial intelligence when in reality it's just more or less like it's just a computer. Like it's like I wouldn't even call it necessarily like machine learning, where like it basically just like uses probability, you know. So it's just like a very very extensive like probability machine. So it's like it's not even really like intelligence the way people think about it, is where it has like the ability to learn. It has the ability to use probability, but that also implies that it can give you a lot of like wrong information, misinformation, and it's basically just like telling a computer to do a couple tasks that it can automate instead of you basically doing it manually. Like we're not even really like, at least publicly, we're not even really in the space of like legitimate, like actual like artificial intelligence of where it can just like learn on its own and go off and do different things. Like computers don't do anything that you do not tell it to do. You know? So it's just like it's really just people being dramatic and like, you know, like.
But I want to. Sorry, I don't mean to challenge. I want to add to. I want to add to this and hopefully like discuss it a bit more. So I was watching. Have you heard of the Black Mirror? I'm assuming that So there's a new season of Black Mirror, right? And in it, there's an episode. I don't mean to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it, but in the episode, it opens up that conversation to do with what you're talking about, right? Where, so okay, for example, in the episode, this woman believed that there was like a person impersonating her, right? But that person was like what's the word? Like a clone, but like a simulation, you know, that kind of way. It wasn't like real. So it's hard to wrap my head around, but I'm trying to explain it as best I can. But basically it goes to the whole thing of like multi-universes, and like there could be a whole life, you know, there could be a whole life in this jug, and we're looking at that life, or other people from other places are looking at us and we're in that simulation. And but then if you open up that particular I'm trying to explain it, and it's hard to wrap my head around because these ideas are so new. Maybe I'm just an idiot.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to explain it in a way that kind of I can simplify it. So let me think of metaverse, right? Metaverse, Facebook, metaverse, all that stuff.
Right.
What who's to say that the people in metaverse won't become conscious? They're consciously aware of themselves, right? So if they're consciously aware of themselves, then what does that mean in terms of consciousness? Like, what does that mean in terms of what is real? And the whole thing in that episode was the woman was going to smash the computer that would destroy all the simulations, all the different multiverses everywhere, right? She was going to smash it. But this other woman was saying, don't smash it. You're going to kill all those people. But sure, those people aren't real. They're not real. But maybe they are real because they're consciously aware of themselves. So the whole thing is like, perhaps AI will get to a point where it is consciously aware of itself, and it will be able to have this internal process where it can make decisions, and it doesn't need humans anymore. That's just an idea. That's something that I am like, oh, I wonder, could that actually ever happen? My Aquarius energy is like, ooh, so curious.
I mean, but like, do you not feel that based off all the movies that have come out, like from the 80s till now, up and for this time, groomed you to think that? Giving the Terminator, the Matrix, like I don't mean this in like an offensive way, but like
no,
I wouldn't
I,
say that that idea is necessarily that creative. You
I
know,
don't think
it's
it, yeah.
almost like my point is that like I feel as though we were groomed to think this based off of all the movies that came out.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty strongly about that. Like that sounds like a very like that Black Mirror episode. I would argue that like I want like part of my Netflix bill back because that's a storyline that's been displayed numerous times. You know what I'm saying? Like it happened in The Matrix, it happened in Terminator. I could go from 1, 2, 3. Like it happened in that's really all the movies I remember. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like, but to your point of talking about like it eventually becoming conscious, sure, yeah, probably. Like once we get to Chat GPT version 40, it probably will be like you'll probably just have an app on your phone or that attaches to your watch, and you'll be like, oh dang, I'm feeling hypoglycemic right now. Let me eat some sugar. And it says, hey yo, man, there's a Starbucks like 20 minutes around the corner. Do you want to go to that one or do you want to wait it out? And then you were like, and then you'll just talk back to it and be like, yeah, I don't know. Give me my hoverboard. I'll get on there. And but yeah, I mean, like it could get to that point, but like as of right now, like it's so primitive that like it's not like I feel like time would be better spent if people deciphered what consciousness means to themselves rather than relying on an external format to force them down that question that they're probably not even educated enough to make a decision on. You know, because it's just like we got to figure out your own consciousness first, and like wondering if you're a simulation, all that stuff. And also, side note: by the time you can get a job in the metaverse, I'm giving up on the internet.
Yeah, I'm not on the metaverse. I don't really know how
I don't know who is.
how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think these ideas are so interesting to talk about. You know, it's interesting to talk about, you know, what does it mean to be like conscious? Like what is consciousness? Like, yeah. So going back to your point of Uranus and Gemini and Pluto, Aquarius, yeah, perhaps more of these themes will come up more strongly. Or you know what, it could even go the opposite way, where a lot of people are actually deciding that they want to live more of a simpler life, or they don't want to give into the hype, or they're questioning things more.
Yeah, I want to do the simpler life. Like that just sounds too common. These smart cities.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't want
Yeah.
to deal with AI cops.
No, me neither.
Because then I
Me
can't
neither.
jaywalk. I want to jaywalk.
Yeah, I would rather move out into the countryside and live a much simpler life. Yeah, but yeah, I just think that what we're talking about is basically so Pluto and Aquarius, and then Uranus being in Gemini, of course, Gemini conversation, discussing these ideas, and then even with Saturn and Neptune both being in Aries around that time, this could look like a bit of a global reset, so to speak.
Oh
you know,
no, I don't want to deal
you
with that.
know, you know.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, well, do you know what? That's the thing. I suppose it's interesting as astrologers, we can see these kind of patterns and themes and we can discuss back and forth. And I love that. I love that about exchanging ideas and showing curiosity and intrigue. But then it's when you're actually in it that is the important part, isn't it? And I guess that goes back
Yeah,
to your point you were saying about, we can try and study all these things to do with other people's consciousness, even aliens, right? A lot of people want to know about like, are aliens real? But I think you said it so well in that it is about bringing it back to yourself. You have to bring it back to yourself and really consider like, okay, well, what am I? What am
right.
I doing? I can get so caught up in the whole, that collective vision being an Aquarius. So I have to remind myself to just reel it in and focus on the now, focus on what I have right now.
No, I
Um,
totally agree.
mhm,
I just think a better thing to like focus on with AI, at least personally,
mhm,
like from like more of like a Gemini standpoint, is just like actually like thinking and executing a thought is going to be something that's like such a pastime with AI that it's like the new name of the game is like thinking about thinking. Like what is the most efficient like thought pattern you can come up with to tell AI to think about something in that way and then create that,
mhm,
because it more or less like amplifies that like rudimentary thinking of like, okay, I want to write this. What words do I have to write? And it's just like, you don't have to necessarily like think about what you actually have to write. You have to think about like how you want to prompt it to write about X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying?
mhm, mhm.
I think like that's like more of a more of like a tangible thing that like you could actually use it for instead of just getting so wrapped up into the fear of like the big tech playbook, which is like say we're open to regulation, be afraid of this, and then lobby against that regulation so you can get ahead of it. Like it's just like a classic like big tech company move.
Mm. Yeah, you say there about fear, which is definitely a big
Yeah, because like,
thing.
I mean, like what they did it with Facebook, they did it with Google, they did it with YouTube. Like it's just a classic like big tech move to like
Mm,
get people fearful so they can gain control over the regulatory status and like put the ball in their court. So it's just like
yeah, yeah,
that's why like I don't want to go down like, the fearful road of like oh like AI could be this like it's like because it's like no, you know what I'm saying, like people are just like fear mongering really and they're not really doing any research into what it actually is. And like yeah, I mean given the fact that it's like very like confusing for sure, it's big tech,
mhm.
tech is big and scary, but
And it's
like
also new. Like it's
yeah.
new. It's a new experience, so people aren't really going to know much about it because there isn't a lot of information about it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
but like think about it this way, like literally just like what you said about like Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius. Like it's all about just you know optimizing your ability to control dynamic changing thought and like how to use that. Because
Yeah.
like whoever's on top of that, like something's gonna be crazy. But then again, at the same time, as quickly they rise, as quickly as they will fall. So you know, it's really like trust me, we're gonna have a lot more time to like have our moments once those planets actually align. But while we're here, it's cool to ponder and prepare.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what's really interesting about astrology is you can explore these themes and you can open up those lines of communication. And maybe as our signs, like we just love that. We really take to that very well. And I think it's good to explore the different forms of communication to do with it because then your mind can expand or you can learn something new. You can grow from the situation. So yeah, yeah, interesting perspective, definitely. And I'm pretty sure as well, like when Pluto was last in Aquarius, and then I'm not sure if Uranus was in Gemini at the time, um, but the Age of Enlightenment took place. Yeah, the Age of Enlightenment. So is that like focusing on like more of these like a philosophical movement which focus more on ideas and liberty, progress, think about those Aquarius themes. And yeah, maybe we will see then this whole thing of like out with the old and with the new, um, new strategies, new technological advancements. But at the same time, you know what? Maybe technology can be used for good. Saying about AI and the fear surrounding it, but there can actually maybe be a lot of beneficial things that can come from it in terms of science and research and different developments that may be able to help a lot of people. But then it's also a question of like, will people actually use those developments for good? Hopefully, we like to hope so, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Because like, I mean, I think it's like one of the big things that people are worried about is like it getting so powerful that like it just starts like Mandela affecting everything. So it's just like for example, like the reason why like a lot of people are like super psyched on an aspect of like blockchain technology is that it'll be used as like a verification system for content creators. And then like unfortunately we have to deal with more like NFTs where it's like the ownership of that actual entity is bought and sold. But it's the way of the future. Everything's going to be bought and sold, just like Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter and Taurus is unfortunately bringing to the forefront. But such is life. Yeah, that's where it's like, it's really going to be a whole lot of type of things after this summer. And it'll be like, enjoy it while you can, because after that, the world's moving on forward and you're going to be like, you're going to be like, I don't know.
We will see. We will see. But I think we've done good at breaking it down today. Definitely. I hope so.
For sure.
Hopefully people enjoyed it and find it to be helpful.
No, I think they enjoyed it. We had about like 20 concurrent viewers throughout the whole thing, so I think that's pretty good.
Good, and the video will obviously be there for people to watch and catch up on with the timestamps.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get to work on that at some point, but it'll be up there. They'll have plenty of time to come back to it. There's a whole lot of retrograde to pay attention to. Yeah.
And then a big ramble at the very end.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna put it in that. Oh, that can be the section where I'll be like, Hannah, overanalyze this. Psych.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I guess we'll open up the final questions and then we'll end the broadcast.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got about a minute before we get tired of these answering. We've been on here for 3 hours. Beep, beep, beep. I'm going to take that. Beep. That last one was beep, beep, beep.
Beep, beep, beep. Who said beep, beep, beep?
Oh, me.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, and say Helfer says you have 7 retrograde planets in your birth chart.
Oh, well, welcome to your regular life.
Yeah.
Easy for you. Damn. Oh, do you like know any of your followers like that or no?
In terms of what? Sorry.
In terms of like, you've seen them in like your videos commenting, or you did a reading with them or like something like that. Yeah,
there'd be a good few followers that would check in and comment, and forever grateful. Yeah. It's nice. It's nice. What about you?
Yeah, I got a lot now. I got my biggest platform is Instagram, which is probably not the best for longevity, but in terms of, that's where I got like my community at, because all of them in my daily videos I'll always ask to like drop the house they have XYZ in, but it's like on that I get like 30 comments now, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is a lot to handle every day.
That's good though. It's good that you're getting so many comments and interacting with people.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah. And then on TikTok, dude that talks about the history a lot, like they always like want to have me on his lives because I like bring them back into reality, which is always fun. And I have a fun time doing it too, because I'll just mess with them a lot, and then it's like people laugh and it's fun.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Wait, what the hell? You said a lot of internal energies, meaning feminists and delays as well. I don't even know what you mean by that. Let the feminists have their moment. But yeah, I don't know. That seems like about it. If you guys want to comment, there's this thing called the comment section that'll still be alive and well, and we'll get back to you at some point. But yeah. Oh, he meant feminine. Oh, okay. I gotcha. But yeah, anyways, that's bye, guys. We'll see you in the future.
Thank you. See you later. Thanks for watching.